Whoa. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday at high noon-ish. Uh, what do we do here? Well, we give you everything that you need to know about current events, hot topics, headlines, whatever it is people are barking about on your favorite little stupid box. I don't know, stupid box TV. That's what I call it. If it's something people are talking about, if it's something you need to know about, that's what we do here every day. We've been doing it for 2.5 years. Holy cow. 2.5 years, every single day. Some people say that's a clear sign of mental illness. And they wouldn't be wrong. But here we are. And if you need any more clues to that, here's how this show is done. I do it in 4 quarters, 4 different segments. They interlock, they create the one show, but typically you can count on 4 segments. First quarter, we call that Antecedently on This Day. That's a look back at all the events that have kind of helped shape this day in history. That's what it is, okay? Please, I'm just being pretentious with the name. Quarter 2 is births. People were born on this day. Pretty self-explanatory. Quarter 3, those are deaths. Those are people who died on this day, and we rip open their life's resume. We talk about them a little bit. We decide where'd they go, heaven or hell. That's kind of fun. I like that. Quarter 4, hot topics. Quarter 4, trends, headlines, whatever it is that, the big news of today. That's what we do in quarter 4. Okay. That's how it works. 4 quarters. I execute this show in a stream of consciousness style. What is that? Well, that means that there are no breaks, there are no commercials, there is no music, there is no end to this madness. This doesn't mean that this is a particularly good form of communicating the hot topics of the day. It's just the only one that I have, so I'm not going to talk to a producer. Hey, Marco, how was that? Did you like that? What do you think, Marco? And then he says something funny and we move on. Nope, don't do that. That all has to go on in my head. Don't have a partner. Can't take a breath. Typically 2 hours, just me, stream of consciousness, hot topics. Now, you might be saying, Pugs, that's pretty dangerous. You're a provocateur. You like to have some hot takes that sometimes make people go, what? Aren't you concerned? No. Here's why I'm not concerned. Because I'm not inherently an asshole. There is nothing that I'm going to accidentally say during this.
Just be advised, we're 10-4 out here still.
There's nothing I'm going to. All right. There's nothing I'm going to accidentally say that's going to get me in any trouble because I'm not a bad person. If you try and make me get in trouble for something that I say, not being a bad person, I'll kill you. Okay, that was not good. That was a joke. Certainly not a threat of violence, but we're listening to the police scanner because there's something going on in Kendall County, Texas. Just started happening within the last 15 minutes. I'm monitoring it. Right now we are in the monitoring stage. I'm a scanner geek. I like to see the things that are happening. This is at a high school in Bern, Texas, which appears to be about 50 miles or so outside of Austin. What are they saying now? Hold on. Let's see. School in Kendall County being cleared after possible shooting recorded. Okay, this is in Kendall County, Texas. Like I said, about 50 miles outside of Austin. Bern is the town where this is happening. That's all I'm saying, because I still haven't been able to determine which of the 2 high schools in Bern this is happening at. I don't know, but that's, I've been listening now for about a half hour. And the police, there doesn't seem to be any sense of urgency, which, should bring you comfort. But then we think, oh, God, there wasn't really a sense of urgency at Uvalde either. And look what was going on there. So I don't know. So all we know right now out of Kendall County, Texas, again, about 50 miles outside of Austin, at a high school in Bern, Texas, there is a possible school shooting happening right now. I don't know what that means. It's worded so vaguely. I've heard nothing on the police scanner. The police who are there talking to each other, I've heard nothing about injuries. I've heard nothing about, I hear them going classroom to classroom. That's what it seems like they're doing. The school itself has been evacuated. Wait, is this an update? Here's an update. School in Kendall County being cleared up. Okay, it's not. And what is the source on that? Let's go to the full source. Why not? Texas, school in Kendall County being cleared by local law enforcement with canines on the scene after possible shooting being reported. This is a local news update. Burn High School. Okay, we do have more information now. Burn High School in Texas.
350.
I mean, this is all happening right now, folks. We don't know what this is. Burn High School in Texas, where a shooting was reported. Schools being cleared with local law enforcement with a possible student detained. Information via scanner. Okay, so that's basically all the stuff that I heard. Jim was also cleared by a bomb-sniffing dog. All right. Well, at my own peril, when we did this with Uvalde, this was exactly like what was happening with Uvalde. Uvalde was happening right at this time, and we started the show by, covering it, and then it seemed like nothing was going to come of that, and we went and did a normal show. So we're going to do that again because I'm an idiot and I don't learn, but also couldn't happen twice, right? I mean, this sounds like whatever's happening there in Kendall County, Texas, Burn High School, whatever's happening there seems to be under control. We'll keep you posted. I'll get the updates, right? All right. So there you go. Stream of consciousness. See, we just got taken down a little breaking news hole. But what this show is really going to do is kind of give you a full and 30,000 foot view of what this day is. This show is I Need to Be Reminded. No, I don't need to be reminded. Trust me, I do not need to be reminded. This show runs on your tips. And today, the executive producer of the show is an anonymous person who does not wish to be identified, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Anonymous. Your tip was greatly appreciated, and it went to buying food. So you are supporting this effort. I do appreciate you. And anybody else wants to tip the show, please do help us out. It's the end of the month. We're nowhere near making it, so come on. Come on if you can. All right, enough about that. Thank you so much. If you are so inclined, I'm going to leave this up. That's where you go. You just drop a little something, a little thank you. Just for those of you who don't, disapprove of this style of talk radio, which is non-divisive, non-political, we still get into all the fun stuff. Gosh darn it. Google just signed me out. I do apologize. I don't know why they would. I've been working this page endlessly since 8 o'clock this morning. Oh, man. I don't even know. All right, let's see if that's it. I recently had to change my Google sign-in. I kept getting these things. You've been hacked. And I'm like, what? No. And then what are they going to get? You know what they'll get? Somebody hacks my Google. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get access to my Google Drive. You know what you're going to find on my Google Drive? You're just going to find endless weird sci-fi plots, fan fiction, weird $1 million ideas that I came up with while stoned. Just like really stupid stuff. So go ahead, have at it. Maybe you'll discover something. Maybe somebody hacking into my stuff will go, hey, this guy's a genius. Who knows? Have at it. All right, Google's let me back in. There you go. So again, we don't really do politically divisive commentary. We do delve into some of the more divisive aspects of just being a human being in American culture these days. But we try not to filter that through a lens of any sort of political partisanship. All right, let's get started. What do you say? Let's move on to the first thing that we do here on this show. Quarter one, we call it Antecedently on this day. These are all the events that have helped shape this day throughout history. It's, we revisit. This is not all the events. These are just the ones that I think are kind of interesting. So let's start antecedently on this day in 1606, the Gunpowder Plot. This is the Guy Fawkes night thing. I don't even know what this is. What are they trying to do? 4 of the conspirators of the Gunpowder Plot, including Guy Fawkes, are executed for treason by hanging, drawing, and quartering for plotting against Parliament and King James. 1606, was this like an anti-Catholic thing? Wasn't King James Catholic? Wasn't he the Scottish King? I don't know, man. That country has too much history. Moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1846, after the Milwaukee Bridge War, this is a real thing that happened. I'm telling you, this is a sitcom or at least a Netflix series. The Milwaukee Bridge War. Now, I love Milwaukee. Milwaukee is my Fort Worth. I mean, if you grew up in Dallas, you look at Fort Worth with this kind of like, it's our little brother, or, something like that. That's kind of how you look at Milwaukee if you grew up in Chicago. Like, get over here, Milwaukee. You know what I mean? You little idiot. That kind of thing. I love Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a great town. Did you know how Milwaukee started? Milwaukee started because of a truce during a war, like a full-out war between two basically suburbs. Or I guess they weren't suburbs because Milwaukee wasn't a thing. It was two other towns, and they went to war with each other. And they just, at some point, they met on this bridge and they went, hey, why don't we just merge our cities and create one big city? And ladies and gentlemen, Milwaukee was born antecedently on this day, 1846, after the Milwaukee Bridge War. The United States towns of Juneautown and Kilburton Town, that's kind of redundant, isn't it? Kilburton Town, unified to create the city of Milwaukee. Welcome to the party, Milwaukee. I love you. 567H, Schlemiel Schlemazel. Antecedently on this day in 1865, the American Civil War, the United States Congress passes the 13th Amendment of these here United States, abolishing slavery, and submits it to the states for ratification. The abolition of slavery. Great day. You don't think the day that we all decided that slavery should be illegal? If you aren't in agreement with that, I mean, come on. What are we doing? I'm not saying you're a lost cause, but I don't know how much time I'm willing to dedicate to your reclamation, because that's an absolutely horrible thing to think. People should enslave one another. Come on. Antecedently on this day in 1961, Project Mercury. That's right. We sent the monkey, Ham. This was the day we sent the monkey into space, 1962. I can tell you that the Mercury astronauts were not pleased. They were very angry. They didn't think that the monkey should go. They didn't like that the monkey got the cover of Life magazine. They were very jealous of the monkey, the Mercury astronauts. Antecedently on this day in 1988, Doug Williams becomes the first African-American quarterback to play in a Super Bowl. I believe it was great Maryland lawmaker Phineas Albertson Kroger who said during the ratification of the 13th Amendment on this day in history that one day there shall be a Negro man leading a team to a Super Bowl. He predicted it. People don't know that. And it happened on this day. Doug Williams. Just don't bother Googling Phineas Albertson Kroger. He's long dead and long forgotten. Let's see. Doug Williams. Okay, so Doug, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the world I came from and the world I exist in today. And just let's look at this as an example of the way the world has changed. In 1988, on this day, Doug Williams led the Washington Redskins to a Super Bowl victory. Doug Williams was considered a garbage quarterback, a bust, a throwaway, Tampa Bay Buccaneers loser. The racists made him famous, right? I mean, he wasn't a very good quarterback, but the only reason that I, as like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, whatever I was, the only reason that I knew who Doug Williams was because he's the black guy they let play quarterback, is what you'd hear from all the old bigots that raised most of us. It was, why is that a problem? And then, as the little kid, I'd ask while sipping on my soda, my endless soda, just sitting there with an old man in like 1982 in a bar watching football with a bunch of other old men. I probably consumed 20 fully sugared Coca-Colas one after another. Why can't Grandpa and all your friends, why can't a black guy play code? Well, you see, they lack the part of the brain. Like these guys would go into this stuff. And it was widely held. It's widely held that the black man, even in 1988, this is an outlier. They can't, because it's not like after Doug Williams won the Super Bowl that NFL started hiring black quarterbacks or even giving them a chance, or at the very least stopping incredibly talented collegiate black quarterbacks from transitioning to wide receiver or safety, which is what a lot of them were forced to do. You're quite the athlete, kid. How would you like to play free safety? I've been playing football for 18 years, 22 years, coach, and I've never been that position, but okay. Do you know how many players, how many great players are in the Hall of Fame who started out in college as quarterbacks, but just didn't play quarterback in their NFL career because they were black? Do you know how many? I don't. I'm sure there are a bunch, though. Doug Williams, he broke the ceiling. That was a big deal. I know for me, like as a kid, though, I mean, I like Doug Williams. Here's why I like Doug Williams, because the other black quarterback in the league at the time was my quarterback, and that was Vince Evans. And even from a very young age, it doesn't matter if you're raised around people who have bigoted views and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, I am purposely not saying racist because there is a difference between the bigotry of the 1970s and 80s as seen through the eyes of the greatest generation or whatever, and racism. We have to draw a line. We have to make distinctions, okay? Bigots are just dumb people who just, haven't seen much of the world. Racists are people who claim to have done the research and absolutely believe it to be fact. This is a very big distinction we need to make. So I wasn't raised around racists. In fact, the funniest thing about my bigoted grandfather is that one of his favorite people in the entire world was Schmitty, the only black guy he knew, who was his favorite guy in the world. He was the guy who loaded his truck every morning. My grandpa ran a dairy. Anyway, but yeah, black quarterbacks, they weren't allowed. And it wasn't even like within a couple of years, it was like, well, they came around once Doug. No, we still had years. Like 15 years later, we had Michael Vick, and people were like, can a black guy play quarterback? I think the answer is yes, right? I think we know. I mean, look at the league now. So anyway, that's fun. We have changed. Now I don't, honestly, I said at one point in the last couple of years, I remember saying this, I said, I never want another way. I don't want a white quarterback ever again. After just experiencing, and I know that this is just play. It's comedic, done for comedic effect, and it's playing into stereotypes. But look, I love Justin Fields as my Bears quarterback. I don't think I want a Brock Purdy. I don't think I want a big, snowshoe wearing white guy back there just sitting in the pocket drilling it downfield. I want somebody, who could potentially transition to wide receiver. I want a super athlete back there at quarterback. I don't just want Joe Theismann out there like a statue. That's not what I want. That's the way the league has changed. And that's the way us as people have changed. I think many people see it the way I see it now. It's just a more exciting brand of football. It's a more exciting offensive brand of football as being played by black quarterbacks today. God, now I'm saying that. I'm like, that kind of sounds, is that racist? Even saying that they play, that there is a different style of play between Justin Fields, because there's not a different style of play really between Justin Fields and say like a Josh Allen, they're very similar. Yeah. I don't know. Look at me, a middle-aged Gen Xer evolving. Anyway, I support black quarterbacks is my point. Thank you. Moving on, because boy, oh boy, did this stream of consciousness potentially run into a scary dark alley. Probably not the best metaphor to use either. Let's see here. Antecedently on this day in 2020, the United Kingdom's membership within the European Union ceases. This is the day that Brexit finally came into effect. They did it, and 4 years later, they spent 4 years trying to figure out how to back out of it, and they couldn't. On this day in 2022, antecedently, Sue Gray, a senior civil servant in the United Kingdom, publishes an initial version of her report on the Downing Street Partygate controversy. Remember that? That's Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, who did Boris Johnson take over for the lady who took over for the... Okay, so Brexit happened. And the Prime Minister of England was like, if this happens, I'm resigning. And it happened. And he resigned. And then they got Theresa May. And Theresa May was right. Like, we can make this work. This is going to work. And then like 2 years later, she resigned, right? In disgrace. And Theresa May go away in disgrace too. And then Boris Johnson, one of the architects, him and Nigel Farage, the two architects of Brexit, Boris Johnson, he kind of slid into the Prime Minister's seat in England, like, a guy that he was the former mayor of London, and he was kind of like the Rob. Remember Rob? Who was the Toronto mayor? The crazy Toronto mayor. He was kind of like that dude, but only in London. Crazy hair, And then during the pandemic, he just threw like a big party when he told everybody else to lock down, and that ended his career. And then Boris Johnson. So that's what this was about. Partygates. Okay, there you have it. That concludes quarter one. Antecedently of this day, or antecedently on this day, is in the books. Look at me. Look at me slurring my words like a presidential candidate. Or a president, for that matter. Whoa! Say hi to the chat room. Before we move into the birthdays, because they say it's their birthday. Jeff Ballard says, you could go as far as to say it was actually more xenophobia than even bigotry or racism. Jeff is making comment on what I said about, the people that I was raised around, who I do not categorize as racist, but just simply bigots. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I can tell you why it's not racism, at least in the form of my grandfather, and bigotry, is because he's right. It was almost entirely xenophobic. He came from an immigrant class that when they came to this country, the Irish were like garbage people. They were like the lowest of the low. So the Irish in particular closed ranks around each other and kept the outside world out. And my grandfather was raised in that environment where it wasn't just black people. It wasn't like, oh, he's black and therefore I'm superior to him and I don't like him. He didn't like Italians. He didn't like Germans. He didn't like anybody that wasn't Irish Catholic. And I say him because he's who I'm basing this on, but he's representative of everybody of his generation, everybody of his little culture group, that immigrant Irish working class. They didn't like anybody from the outside. They certainly, look, the people they hated more than anyone else were the English. So, I mean, it doesn't get whiter than that. So that's why I try to make a distinction there between people who are just frightened, and Jeff is right. Xenophobia is absolutely the more accurate word to use. People who are frightened because they have historically been brutalized by the outside world, as opposed to just somebody who thinks that they are instinctively better than another person based on the tone of their skin. We need to make that distinction because one is a truly evil way of looking at the world and the other can be fixed. The other can be worked on. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you taking me there. All right, let's get into some birthdays. Let's talk about born on this day in 1919, Jackie Robinson. They celebrate Jackie Robinson Day in baseball. Is he 42? Is that the number? I always get confused on Jackie Robinson Day because typically the way I watch baseball games is I record them because I watch out-of-state games, and there's no chance of me just living my life here in Texas and hearing the White Sox score in the bottom of the fourth. It's not going to happen. The Rangers different. I have to avoid the Ranger scores, but my White Sox games I record, and I watch all of those, and I watch them by fast forwarding. I can get through a baseball game. I've said this before in about 45 minutes, but I don't watch any of the bullshit. So I don't see any of the beginning, where the two play-by-play color guys are like, we've went for a good one today. A pitcher's duel as two guys hit the mound with 10 wins apiece. None of that. Fast forward through all of that garbage. Fast forward. So I almost never know it's Jackie Robinson Day until I start looking at people and going, who's 42? Who's pitching for us? Who's 42? And then I noticed the hitter is 42. And I'm like, oh, 42. Because everybody wears 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. It's very confusing for me, but I'll survive. Born on this day in 1923, Norman Mailer. Man, I love Norman Mailer. He, on his death day, we always send him to hell because absolutely Norman Mailer is going to hell. But Norman Mailer was a great writer, man. Terrific writer. I was first introduced to Norman Mailer through nonfiction, The Executioner's Song, which was a book that he had written about Gary Gilmore, who was a serial killer who I was, for some weird reason, interested in as a teen. So I read Norman Mailer's Executioner's Song. It was also made into a movie starring Tommy Lee Jones, The Executioner's Song, and Rebecca De Mornay, I want to say. Anyway, very good. Won a whole slew of Pulitzers, Norman Mailer did. Naked and the Dead, Armies of the Night, Executioner's Song. I mean, that's all I can name off the top of my head. Norman Mailer, born on this day. Cool guy. Probably killed people. He did some things. He did some bad things. He wasn't a good dude. Great writer. Art from the artist. We got to keep that separate, man, because you're going to lose a lot of really important human emotional responses to great art and great creativity. You're going to lose out on all of that stuff if you just get distracted by the fact that, maybe during their downtime, they weren't the best people. Separate the art from the artist. Born on this day in 1931, here's another guy that I always take a moment to give my due respect to. I hate the Chicago Cubs. I despise everything about them, but I do recognize the glory of Ernie Banks. Mr. Cub, yeah, he's cool. You can't be in Chicago. You can't come from Chicago, even if you're on the South Side and you hate the Cubs. You can't be from Chicago and not like Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks is cool. Born on this day in 1931. Born on this day in 1941. We're gonna watch. We're gonna do a little video tribute because this chick is a broad, man. I loved it. First of all, she was hot. She was like a hot chick in her early days. She was never a really big actress. She did some. What? Hold on. Here we go. She did some things. Most notably, hold on. She was in a Clint Eastwood movie called Play Misty for Me. I don't know if you're familiar with Play Misty for Me, but it was the story of Clint Eastwood. He played a DJ, an overnight DJ, and this woman would call in every night and say, "Play Misty for me." And she kind of started stalking him and all that. And he hooked up with her because she sounded hot. And hey, she was hot because she turned out to be the birthday girl, Jessica Walter. Now, you might know Jessica Walter from where I love her most from. And that is, of course, she played Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development. Lucille Bluth, the funniest, not even close, man. This isn't even something we need to talk about. She is the funniest mother in the history of television. So let's, on her birthday, Jessica Walter's birthday, she's dead, so she ain't hearing this. But on Jessica Walter's birthday, let's watch some of the best of Lucille Bluth from one of the funniest shows in the history of television. It's this woman's birthday. Not her. That's not her. The other woman, the older woman. Jessica Walter played the mom. Here's the best of Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development. On this, Jessica Walter's, what would have been Jessica Walter's birthday.
Tell you what, I'll drink you for it.
Oh, I heard you don't handle your booze so well anymore.
So this should be easy for you. That one didn't count. I'll be in the hospital bar.
There isn't a hospital bar, Mother.
This is why people hate hospitals.
Lucille, minutes out of rehab, was engaging in a drinking contest at the behest of her son.
You know when you're ready, dear. Get me a vodka rocks.
Mom, it's breakfast.
And a piece of toast.
Can I get you anything else, man?
No, thanks. I have to get back to rehab.
She's in rehab!
How about you? Can you find some work?
Oh, sure, Michael. As what? A waiter. Can I get you something, madam?
I will have a vodka, though.
What?
All under the guise of caring about our family.
Gotta stop quoting when you drink.
Don't give me that look. I happen to be a more caring mother than most.
Where's my bed?
I put it in storage. I guess you'll just have to decide which Lucille you want to spend your nights with. I love all my children equally. I don't care for Joe. What?
Hi, Mama. It's Lynn's.
Get a job. They don't appreciate it. It's his glasses. They make him look like a lizard. Plus, he's self-conscious.
Gee, I wonder why.
All right, there you go. That's the great Jessica Walter as Lucille Bluth from Arrested Development. God, she's the funniest mom in the history of she's just so funny. Nothing redeemable at all about her. Just an awful, awful woman who raised awful, awful children. And that's what that show is all about. I love it. Happy birthday, Jessica Walter. Born on this day in 1941. Born on this day in 1946, Terry Kath. Look him up. Most underrated lead guitar player in the history of rock and roll. One of the easily 10 best lead guitarists in the history of rock and roll. Terry Kath died playing Russian roulette. Total waste. Drugs killed another great one. Terry Kath, born on this day in 1946. We just covered his death like last week. Last week was the anniversary of his death, and we talked about it. And 25 or 6 to 4. Just Jimi Hendrix's favorite guitar player. Just that guy. That's who he is. Born on this day in 1947. Here's another one of them that guys. He's a that guy actor who's been doing movies for like 30, 40 years, movies and TV. We only recently came to know him as Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. It's Jonathan Banks' birthday. How cool is Jonathan Banks? Jonathan Banks is awesome because he plays the character of Mike Ehrmantraut as somebody who is obviously a criminal, obviously a bad and morally compromised individual. But we also see him in such a well-shown light that we get to see his relationship with his grandkids. We get to see him dealing with truly demented bad people. Like he's a criminal as a means to an end. He's whatever his backstory is. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see young Mike Ehrmantraut, right? Because wasn't he a cop in Philadelphia who got framed, and then he went into like sort of shady business. Anyway, he's awesome. Jonathan Banks. Wait, I think that's who that is. Hold on. Now I got to make sure. Yeah, it is. All right, it is. I was like, wait, that's his name, right? Jonathan Banks? Because that was all just me riffing, which is what this is, a stream of consciousness. Here's another local icon. I call him the Mike Ditka of Texas. Born on this day in 1947, Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan's a dude. He didn't win that fight against Robin Ventura. But that's okay. You guys keep watching that edited version that they show at Ranger games. We show the full version at the White Sox game, and we actually show an enhanced version. We actually show the version where you see a reversal and the old man being taken down to the ground while Robin Ventura has Pudge Rodriguez and two other guys on him. Stop it with the old man. He challenged the old man. Robin Williams. No, not Robin Williams. I would have taken Nolan Ryan in a fight against Robin Williams. That I can assure you. I don't know. Look, I've debated this with Texas. I'm a Texas Ranger fan, so I've had this conversation with a lot of them. You're wrong. You're just gonna keep believing it. But that's fine. We'll move on. Happy birthday to you, the Mike Ditka of Texas. Nolan Ryan. Born on this day in 1956. How about John Lydon? John Lydon, otherwise known as Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols. This dude is still alive. How is that dude still alive? You want to know how he was still alive? Because that dude's an act. Johnny Rotten was an act. Sid Vicious was real. Johnny Rotten understood that by freaking people out, there was a way for him to eventually cash in. Johnny Rotten, or Johnny Lydon, is a professional troublemaker. He knew what he was doing the whole time. Yeah, he dabbled in drugs and he had some fun and all that kind of stuff. But he wasn't like Sid Vicious, who was truly just a lost soul, who truly was a punk, just like, ugh. Anyway, happy birthday, Johnny Lydon. I would say the Sex Pistols, but also Public Image Limited. And he's done a whole bunch of all these performance artists. He's a troublemaker. He gets on and he does interviews, right? And he says things like this is like in the not even 1990s, like recently. Yeah, Kate Middleton's a whore, right? And she ought to be, he still does that. He still does that. And people are like, oh, Johnny Rotten. He's become a cartoon character. And he doesn't care because, he's never had to hold a job in his life. He's Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols. Or John Lydon, celebrating a birthday today. Also celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1970. One of my favorite people, one of my favorite stories to tell, Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver. Those longtime listeners, of the afternoon I spent with Minnie Driver explaining to her what the Chicago Bulls were. Yeah, she was dating Taylor Hawkins. Oh, man. The late, great Taylor Hawkins. She was dating Taylor Hawkins of the Foo Fighters, and it was back in the mid-'90s. And the Foo Fighters were headlining our big summer concert bash, Q101 Summer Jam, or whatever it was. And the Summer Jam was taking place on a Saturday. It was an all-day concert with a whole bunch of bands. It's taking place on a Saturday. But on this particular Saturday, there was a Bulls playoff game. I think it was probably the finals. It was a Bulls finals game. And everybody was like, you can't do that. I mean, this was the height in Chicago of Bulls mania. Nobody's going to come to this concert during a Bulls game. So what they had done was they said people came. It was a big concert. So what they had done was backstage, they had set up this whole like sports bar area. They moved furniture in and put up big screen TVs because people wanted to watch the Bulls game. And so I spent the better part of the afternoon sitting on a couch back there with members of the Foo Fighters watching the Bulls game. And as I said, it was Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver was seated right next to me. Like for some reason, I was seated next to not even Taylor or Dave, but the other guy, the bass player. I was sitting next to him, and I was kind of on the end, and Minnie Driver was kind of sitting on the edge of the couch. And I was talking to her because I was trying to talk her into coming out on stage with me because she wanted to remain secret. I was like, yeah, I don't want to be there. And she was kind of famous then, she was a movie actress. So we were being friendly and I was talking to her. But then she didn't. The Foo Fighters were like super into basketball. And Taylor Hawkins was super into basketball. And he was ignoring her. So I was like, hey, all right, I'll talk to the movie actress. I'm, just a 20-something-year-old dude. We're the same age. She's really hot and got a cool British accent. So I explained basketball to her. Minnie Driver, happy birthday, born on this day in 1970. And as I have said, although I have not crossed paths with Miss Driver in these many years, 2023, 5, 6, 7, almost 30, I would say 30 years. Let's say it's been 30 years. Let's say it's been close to that. She was a delight back then. She really was. She was wonderful. She was just like a normal girl. And you know how I feel about actresses. I mean, I know on some level that she was just acting, like she was playing in that moment the role of the super cool girlfriend at the party. You know what I mean? Who's not going to be a nag, who's not. That was the role that she was playing. And she nailed it. She was the super cool girlfriend at the party. Not bugging her man when he's trying to watch Jordan win his second or third title or whatever it was at that point. Minnie Driver, born on this day in 1970. Born on this day in 1973. Someone who kind of broke the mold. I mean, very rare when we talk about this is a very rare thing to have happen. And what I mean by rare thing to have happen is typically when a woman is famous for being beautiful, she also isn't really good comedically. It's rare. It's a very rare thing. Lucy was hot. Lucy was but she stopped being hot when she got really funny. Deborah Messing, I think Deborah Messing's a great example. She's a tremendous comedic actress and she's really hot. Who else is good? And what I mean by hot is I don't mean like you can say Kristen Bell is an amazing, but she's not hot. Kristen Bell is cute. Kristen Bell is a Cincinnati 9, right? But she's a little short, and so she's a Hollywood, 7.58. We in Middle America, the flyover states, we look at Kristen Bell and go, we should be so lucky. But really, when she stands next to the birthday girl, Portia de Rossi, you see the difference. You're like, yeah, Kristen Bell is really cute. Whoa, who's this? Portia de Rossi is one of the most beautiful women, I think, just staggeringly beautiful. And of course, we've already talked about Jessica Walter, who played Lucille Bluth in Arrested Development. Her birthday. It's also her daughter, Portia de Rossi, Lindsay Bluth's birthday. So let's watch some of the best of Lindsay Bluth, Portia de Rossi, hysterical as the just irreversibly ruined little rich girl.
Family who lost everything, and the one son who had no choice but to keep them all together.
Just beautiful.
It's Arrested Development.
All right, now get funny, Lindsay.
It is obvious I'm not wearing a bra, right?
You spent $68 on hair conditioner?
Small price to pay for self-esteem, Michael.
Next morning, Lindsay woke up late in the day, hungover from celebrating her one day of employment, which it turns out she had slept through.
That doesn't matter.
C-minus. C-M-I-N-E-S.
Did you even study?
No, I didn't.
Wow, how impressive is that? No, Michael, I don't just sleep all day.
Actually, Lindsay was so upset at Michael that she tried meditating to calm herself, but ended up taking a 2-hour angry nap.
It's all I've ever wanted from you, Daddy. For you to spend money on me.
She's a combative, entitled princess. I should hire somebody to kick your ass for that.
Is it? It's a shamali. It's gorgeous.
It's a shamali. It's a shamali. All right. Happy birthday to the beautiful and very funny Portia de Rossi. Born on this day in 1973. Born on this day in 1977. Kerry Washington. Kerry Washington has another hit series on TV. We're going to have to start putting her in league with the likes of, Mary Tyler Moore and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Kerry Washington has quietly been putting together an insane resume. Happy birthday to her. Born on this day in 1981. He's back. Justin Timberlake. Looking kind of old. Looking kind of old. Justin Timberlake was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live this past weekend. Looking kind of old. He bringing sexy back. I love Justin Timberlake, man. I love him. I love JT. I love everything about him. And here's why I am so ardently in the Justin Timberlake camp. Here's why. Because I was unfair to him in probably his first 7 to 8 years of fame. Like when he was in the boy band, I was like, whoa. When he was dating Britney Spears, I was like, whoa. When he was, and then he like went solo, I was like, whoa. But then over time, man, dude started impressing me with everything. He's funny, he's talented, then sexy back. Come on. That changed me. I was like, this is good. This is not bad. Justin Timberlake, happy birthday. Welcome back. Don't call it a comeback. I wouldn't call Justin Timberlake. This is like when Sinatra took a couple of years off and people were like, it's a Sinatra comeback. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Sinatra was number one in movies and on stage and in music, and he just decided to take some time off. Same with Justin Timberlake. Don't call it a comeback. It's not like we ever rejected him. He stopped making stuff. A comeback has to include some form of collective rejection, right? A comeback has to follow some sort of failure. I don't know what we would call a failure for Justin Timberlake. Anyway, moving on. Born on this day, here we go. Another local legend, great center for your and co-captain of your Dallas Stars, Tyler Seguin. Canadian ice hockey player, born on this day in 1992. All right, that's it. That's quarter two. Now it's time. Let's move on to the deads. These are the deads. These are the people who died on this day, and we take a look at their life's resume and tell you whether or not, based on our own preconceived understandings of Judeo-Christian prerequisites for heaven and hell, well, where'd they go? Heaven or hell? All right, so let me admit something to you. I almost locked today's show without having any deads because there's just like no good. There's like nothing. Dead on this day in 1606, Guy Fawkes. We talked about that. It's Guy Fawkes Day. He was executed. He's part of the group that tried to kill King James or whatever. I don't know. Let's put him in hell. I don't know. Is he a hero? He's the guy. He's immortalized in that scary mask. You know, that weird mask, that weird sort of, I don't know. Is it French? I don't know. It looks like a weird, it's a mask that people, it's the Guy Fawkes mask. Go ahead, Google it. You'll know what I'm talking about. Just for that, he's going to hell because that thing's kind of freaky. So he's going to hell. Dead on this day in 1856, preemptive. I'm putting him in heaven because I don't know. And does he believe in heaven? I don't think he does, but we're putting him in heaven because it might irritate him. Dead on this day in 1856, the 11th Dalai Lama. You see what I mean? Like the 11th Dalai Lama. Did he have a name? Was there anything that distinguished his reign as Dalai? We're struggling here with the deads on this day. Also dead on this day in 2007, we're going to put her in hell. It's Molly Ivins. Molly Ivins, American journalist and author. She was a political writer, New York Times, New York Magazine, all kinds of stuff. Molly Ivins, Washington Beach. She was a political writer, probably contributed greatly to the current divisiveness here in this nation. So we're just going to put Molly Ivins in hell. All right, that's going to do it. How you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good about this. It's time now to remind you today's show is executive produced by an anonymous individual who didn't want to be mentioned, but thank you so much. We are nowhere near where we need to be for this month, so if you can drop us something, man, it would just go a long way to helping me out. So, okay. Let's move forward. This is quarter four of today's show where we talk about all of the things that are happening in the world. Again, stream of consciousness. I've just been ranting, no breaks, no nothing. Here's something else that needs to be mentioned. After the last 3 days where it was kind of troubling to me, no hiccups. I have not suffered one bout of hiccups today. Now understanding how complicated the mind is and how, mentally we work, I fully expect now, 48 minutes into the show, to be struggling with hiccups because I've put the suggestion out there and now my body's going, oh yeah, that's right. We forgot to totally screw with them. My body does nothing but screw with me. So we'll see. And we'll know that it's a completely like psychosomatic creation. Is that even the proper way to use that? Anyway, a fake hiccup. You know that it's totally fake. I mean, I'm doing it involuntarily. But it's not an authentic disruption of my breathing patterns. It's just because I put it out there. So when it happens, you'll know it's fake because it has never happened 48 minutes into the show. When it happens organically, it happens because of me being quiet for 4 hours and then going blah, 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 blah. And that's the disruption. And that's what causes them. I understand this. However, I did nothing different today and I had absolutely not even a near bout. Because, I can sometimes tell. All right, moving on. Let's talk about all the things that are happening in the world today. When my biggest problem is hiccups, that, hiccups aren't my biggest problem, please. Let's not frame it that way. My current financial situation in the state of this show moving forward is my biggest problem, but I should have very big news next week. Okay. So we should have something good to report next week. But that doesn't mean we still don't need your help. All right, let's move on. The big story. We're not moving on from the 3 dead soldiers. Okay, we're going to start out each and every show with the 3 dead soldiers there in Jordan. The drone attack, Houthi rebels backed by Iranian forces. Killed 3 soldiers, 34, but I saw something that said 42. Like, I don't know, are more people coming forward and going, I was injured, but the dead count, the United States soldiers, 7 United States soldiers will be coming home in body bags because of the actions of the state of Iran, right? I'm tired of playing this little puppet game. That's the Houthis and we're not sure. No, stop it. Shut up. Even Biden, I wish Biden would have said, they asked him about his plans for retaliation. And he said something like, well, we're going to go after these spots. Like he's talking about the rebels, the Houthis who did it. But then he had to qualify it by going, but we know it was Iran that was behind it. I'm like, just come out and say that. Just saying, we're going to make sure. Here's what the president of the United States in this moment needs to say during a campaign. Instead of trying to play both sides of it, he needed to come out and he said, can't talk right now. I'm on my way to Andrews to meet the bodies of the 3 brave servicemen who gave their lives defending our freedoms. And then I'm going straight to a war council and we're going to deal with Iran. That's it. That's all he needs to say. That's it. And we're going to deal with Iran. Nobody gives a shit about Houthi rebels. We all know who the problem in the region is, Mr. President. What the hell do we have this insane defense budget for if we're just going to allow this to happen? We're just going to allow during peacetime, and it is otherwise peacetime in Jordan. This is an outpost where they were. They weren't engaged in it. This is a place where they stockpile food and rations, okay? It's not a black site. Although I imagine if you go online now, you'll find all kinds of things that'll push whatever you want to know. Fact of the matter is that's the only reason that they were able to sneak this drone through and send 3 of our boys home. We should be pissed about that, but not about the Houthis. I mean, we should be pissed about them, but we understand that there are no Houthis without Iran, okay? That's the problem. Iran has been a problem in the region for years. Oh, Pugs, what are you calling for, another war? If there has to be a war, if there has to be, are you kidding me? We got to settle this situation in the Middle East one way or another. I don't want a war. I would love to avoid a war. It would be my hope that Iran, when faced with the overwhelming threat of the United States, the world's largest military, come crashing at their doorstep, that Iran might change their policy in some way. They might, at least as a state, make some grand gestures. Now, that's not to say that their little vassal puppet terror organizations aren't going to continue doing what they're doing, but we need to be dealing with Iran. Now, we can't play whack-a-mole with every little group that pops up because they got a check from Daddy Iran. We need to deal with Iran. All right, moving on. Biden says the U.S. response to a drone attack that killed 3 American service members in Jordan last weekend will be carried out over the course of several days and striking multiple targets. These are going to be very deliberate targets on facilities that enabled these attacks on U.S. forces, said the official, speaking on condition of anonymity in order to discuss sensitive details. All right. Cool. So we're just going to play whack-a-mole. Iran, for their part, Iran is threatening on Wednesday to decisively respond to any U.S. attack on the Islamic Republic, following President Joe Biden's linking of Tehran to the killing of 3 U.S. soldiers at a military base in Jordan. The U.S. has signaled it is preparing for retaliatory strikes in the Mideast in the wake of Sunday's drone attack that also wounded at least 40 troops. There's another one at Tower 22, a base in northeastern Jordan that's been crucial to the American presence in neighboring Syria. Okay, well, this report out of Iran paints Tower 22, which is what they're calling it, differently, as a secretive spot. I've not seen any attempts to do that in the other stories. And in fact, the descriptions in the mainstream stories that you hear is that this is not a particularly big offensive threat, that it was, used refueling and food and all that kind of stuff. It's a Biden crime family. Look at Byron. Stop it, Byron. So what? Okay, Byron. So what? Here you go. Let's lock you down, because I've seen your side playing both sides of this. Is Biden weak or is Biden strong here? I want to know which one it is, because when it's obvious, when they say Biden's being too strong, he's the saber rattler, he wants to go to war. So that's the argument against being too strong. And then there's the other argument. He's being too weak. They're sending people home in body bags. So which is it? You guys got to stake it right now. I want to know, Byron, what is it? Is he being too weak or is he being too strong? I believe he's being too weak. Byron says, I put that up about the exec producer. Yes, but you triggered me into streaming a good 30-second rant that I otherwise wouldn't have. The other big story today happening. Well, there's a bunch of big stories today. We're going to get them. It's a weird day. Big tech is on the hill. The CEOs of Meta, TikTok, X, and other social media companies are testifying before Senate's Judiciary Committee about child safety on their platforms. The hearing comes as lawmakers are growing increasingly concerned about the effects of social media on young people's lives. Good. I am all for that. I am all for us looking at what ill effects is social media having on our kids. I said this the other day where I support this crazy Florida law. And it's not crazy. I just think everything in Florida is crazy. So I support that Florida law where, and it was co-authored by a Democrat and a Republican that came together in the Florida state legislature. Probably not really a place where you'd expect any bipartisanship, but they've got a law down there that says they don't want anybody under 16 on social media in the state of Florida. And I'm all for it. Because I don't know if I like the way people who live on social media then take that vibe out into the real. I don't know. I don't think kids, I don't know. I don't think it's a place for kids. I really don't. Anyway, so they're going to look into that. And the big tech guys are going to, I don't know. It's all so gross. They're all here's what I do know. Whole bunch of them are all going out for steak dinner tonight in Washington. And by a whole bunch of them, I mean lobbyists, and I mean billionaires, tech executives, and I mean senators, and maybe a congressman or at least a congressional aide or two will be there at the dinner. Oh, yeah. After they put on their nice little show, you, sir, need to be more responsible to the youth of America. I will not stand it. After that, they're all going to be like, should we get another bottle of wine? Should we? Let's get another bottle of wine. Hey, you're going to expense this, right? Absolutely. I'm expensing this to the house. So we'll be paying for that dinner after they put on their little show for us. See, the wonks. There's a difference here. There's the money pirates and there's the wonks. These are the different two classifications of bad people currently occupying Washington. The wonks are the weirdos. The wonks are the ones that are so politically driven. They're the Republican who would never have a drink with a Democrat, right? They're the ones that are so broken that democracy isn't even an option for them anymore. They are Kool-Aid drinkers. They are the wonks. But then you got like the money pirates. Those are just the people who understand that putting on the show and pretending to be a wonk on TV and, stirring up the masses, that is just one part of the job. The other part of the job is, backstage. Come on, let's all go out to dinner. Those people have no problem. So when I know you're confused, what do you mean you think these two people from two completely different points of view and ideologies are having dinner together? I sure am. Who do you think pays for these guys to run for re-election, to have this temporary power? They're moneyed overlords. And that's what's happening here. Big tech is responsible for a whole lot of these bad people. And now for a couple hours, they're going to pretend like they're mad at big tech. And then they're going to take them out to dinner and go, so about my re-election campaign. All right. I've been there's a story here that we're going to talk about and we're going to delve into. And I'm going to do it delicately because there's like a way you can go with this story, and then there's a way that you should go with this story. And I'm going to go in the way you should go with this story, okay? Did you hear about this dude in Pennsylvania who cut his dad's head off on YouTube last night? Holy shit. This guy's name is Justin Moran. Justin Moran was a 32-year-old, he's in custody, 32-year-old kid. I'm calling him a kid. My God, he's 32-year-old grown-ass man. He cut his dad's head off. His dad, who is I don't know. I've fallen down a couple of bunny holes on this story. Anyway, he murdered his father, who seemed like a normal dude. Okay, I was going to say, seemed like a pretty good dude, but that's some projection. I mean, I don't know. He seemed like a normal, everyday neighbor. Hi, Bob. Hi, Stan. They seem like that. Kid cuts his dad's head off last night and then makes a YouTube video. It was up on YouTube for 4 hours. Just, YouTube, it's got everything. So he cut his dad's head off, and then he made a video last night on YouTube, and he put his dad's head in a bag, and he's showing it to the camera, and he's basically explaining why he did it. And he's a QAnon weirdo. And he called his dad a traitor, and apparently his dad's a traitor because his father, in his estimation, he says, worked for the federal government for 40 years. Although in some of the reports that I'm reading now, he doesn't seem to have worked for the federal government. He's a scary-ass dude, this Justin Moran. And the scariest thing about him is how normal he looks. All right, so let's look at this guy, shall we? We're also how normal this dude's family is. He's got a sister who's like smoking hot. She's like a blonde. She's like a gorgeous young blonde. I know he's 32. Looks like he's got like maybe a 36-year-old sister and like a 38-year-old older brother or whatever. I think we'll see it in these pictures. All right, so this one doesn't have great pictures, but here he is. Here, we'll show you this one. All right. All right, this is him. This is the guy who did it. Pretty normal looking 32-year-old kid, right? Let me read you the story as we look at him. Sorry. Yeah, we're going to spend a little bit of time on this story because it's so weird. Should we go with the Inquirer? I mean, in Philadelphia Inquirer. I didn't mean like the National Enquirer. No, this is a real story. Trying to find the best version though, because I read so many. All right, you know what? You can never go wrong for. You can never go wrong with the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail. Let's do that one. Hold on. Although, let's see, are there any other pictures of this guy, just so we can get a look at what we're dealing with here. Yeah, okay, this one kind of sucks. Hold on. All right. Yeah, we'll do this one instead. I'm sorry, folks. Huh. Okay. So why didn't it update? This is very strange. Okay, we'll go with this one. We'll try this one. Nope. Because I think this one's going to have pictures. Ugh. Yikes. All right. Let me see. Let me find you a picture so we can look at this guy. Oh, I just realized what we could have been doing in this downtime. All right, here he is. There he is. There's his. Okay, so here's his dad. Let's show his dad. We'll get a look at mom and dad. Just normal people. Normal people. Let's see. There's the house. I want to see if we got his family, like his whole family. There he is right there. Okay. He's holding up one of his CDs because he's a performer. Don't you know? He's got a couple of albums on Spotify, and you better believe we're going to listen to some of his songs because wow. I mean, if you ever needed an indication, here's the thing. I always say it's like the craziest people make the best music. There is a qualifier to that. If you're already talented, like if you're talented and you're crazy, those two things typically combined into, Kanye, right? Something like that. This guy didn't have the talent part. So he had the crazy, he's got the, but he didn't have the talent part. So we'll get into some of his music, but there he is right there. Look at him. Does he look like someone capable of chopping his dad's head off? Well, he was, and he did. Not because of politics, right? This is where I said before we got in here. But there's a way that this is going to be covered, and there's a way that it should be covered. This has nothing. His politics being what they are, okay, have nothing to do with the fact that he's obviously crazy. Why are you giving any credibility to his well, he did this because he's politically driven by. No. He's obviously crazy. And as a crazy person, he was vulnerable to other crazy ideas. But that's a different argument that we need to have, okay? This is not some MAGA QAnon guy who beheaded his dead, which is how it's going to be told to a lot of us. This is a crazy guy who never got any help and fell through the cracks and did something absolutely nuts. And by the way, this whole idea that he fell through the cracks is bullshit because he's apparently been crazy for years and everybody knows it. And his parents were at a loss as to what to do. Unhinged Justin Moan, who decapitated his father and paraded his head in a disturbing YouTube video, was a debt-ridden QAnon conspiracy theorist who wrote books, including The Second Messiah, wherein he claimed he was the second Messiah. 32-year-old Justin Moran was arrested in Fort Indiantown, Pennsylvania. Moran has sued the federal government 4 times unsuccessfully. He's one of these crazy burn it all down federal government lizard people. All right, so let's learn a little bit about this character, and then we're going to listen to some of his music. The son who was suspected of decapitating his father and parading his head in a sick YouTube video was riddled with student debt. He was a devout conspiracy theorist and believed that he was the second Messiah. 32-year-old Justin Moran was arrested at Fort Indiantown, Pennsylvania around 9 p.m. Tuesday night and charged of murdering his father, Mike, 68. In a 14-minute YouTube video, the deranged son ranted about the federal government for woke mobs, migrants. Hold on. I want to get this right because we're using words now that people are going to be triggered by. Woke is such a dumb word. Stop using woke. When you say things, when you just look, even if I know what you mean too. I get you. I know what you mean. Just stop using it because when you use the word woke, there are a whole bunch of normal people, and I'm not talking about libs. I'm just talking about weird normal people who otherwise, could be cool with you. The minute you use woke, in their head they go, okay, here's what I'm dealing with. Okay, yeah, he's using that trigger word. That's a word that has been thrown out and parroted by so many people that we just instinctively use it now. And it's not, don't stop using it. Come up with a new word. You can still hate libs. Hey, look, I might join you on some of these things, right? They're nuts. Well, both sides, both sides are, I hate to be a both sides guy, but it's so true. All right, let's get back into this guy. I'm sorry. I don't even know where I am now. 32-year-old Justin was arrested in a 14-minute YouTube video. The deranged son ranted about the federal government for woke mobs, migrants who have ruined the United States, and they hated globalists and communists before holding up the severed head of his father. Let's see here. Records show that Mon moved back home to live with his parents. It says here in a $390,000 home. That's so like just like a ranch house, like a 3-bedroom ranch, like a very normal blue collar, everyday American home. Okay. It's weird that they would put the number like that. Like when you're saying he moved back home to move in with his parents and they're $3.5 million. Like that's like when you would put the price of the house, but 390 in a suburb of Philadelphia. I mean, we saw the house. The house is like a little ranch. Anyway, records show that Mon moved back home to live in his parents' $390,000 home with his brother Zachary, who's 35, and his sister Stephanie, who's 38. Stephanie's really good looking. Stephanie's a good looking lady. Sorry, she's going through this. This is a terrible thing for Stephanie. He graduated from Penn State in business management in 2014, but struggled to hold down a job for nearly a decade since. Instead, he has self-published 8 books wherein he claims to only wish to bring positive change to the world, including The Second Messiah, which he said is loosely based on him. He wrote and produced a number of Spotify songs about his debt, his struggles as a white man, and the fact that his dad was jealous of him and wouldn't let him succeed. See, that's crazy. That's a crazy person. He's not succeeding because my father is jealous of me. It's my father who has allowed me to move back into the home. My father who's probably gone through absolute hell worrying about me my whole life. I'm going to cut his head off. But here, first, I dropped a new track on Spotify. Oh, we're going to hear him. We're going to listen to some of these. His conspiracy theories echo similar grievances as those associated with the QAnon movement, a far-right group created in 2017. Yeah, we get it. We get it. Here, let's go through some of these pictures. Let's see some of this stuff. All right, look at that. There's the family. Would you look at that family? Holy crap. Look at that family. What a lovely family. Of course, the psycho killer is on the far right, wearing the black top, seated next to his future victim. That's his dad, his mom, dad, and psycho. Those are the 3 on the far right. Then you got the brother. You got the brother and his wife. They look very nice. Probably gonna have beautiful children. And then you got the hot chick. Then you got the sister, Stephanie, right? Isn't that her? She looks pretty good. What a nice family. What a nice family. Jeez. Look at your family picture. Look at your family picture and tell me, is your family picture all that different from this? Or do you look at this family and go, holy shit, they look like they got it way more together than my family? Every family picture that I've got of like a whole group of my family together, somebody's got a beer in their hand and there's a bunch of lit cigarettes. Look at this. This is a lovely family. This is a lovely family. I just thought my mom probably just got mad. She's like, what do you mean? There's plenty of pictures of us without booze or cigarettes. I'm like, no, not really. All right, here's the brother and his lovely wife. Okay. Oh, here he is. Look at him. He's being kooky. Look at him. He's wearing a red shirt. All right, let's listen to some of this dude's music, shall we? All right, let's go. So this is going to be Justin Mon. This is his Spotify play. He's got 3 albums. We'll delve into his hits. That's what we're going to do. He's God. I may have, look, let me tell you something. I used to close the show every day with some John Hinckley. John Hinckley started saying, hey, you can't use my song without paying me anymore. And I'm like, dude, I'm the only one playing your song. What? So I can't use John Hinckley's music anymore. John Hinckley's music was actually good. That's, this. Okay, we're going to listen to this guy. So there's a number of songs we can choose from. I would like to start off with my favorite. This is the one. This is, I've listened to them all. I did this morning. I listened to a bunch of these. I've listened to them all. This is my favorite. If one were to be a hit, I would think that this one might be. It's a song called Wonky Honky by this guy who cut his dad's head off on YouTube last night.
Honky walking down the street. He looks like a junkie cause his arms touch his feet. And his pockets are clunky, but he ain't packing heat. Yeah, he's walking funky. In his head there's a beat. Is he a redneck? No. Is he white trash? No. Is he a wasp? No. Is he a racist? No. What is he? He's a wonky honky. A wonky honky. A wonky honky. A wonky honky.
Oh my God.
A wonky honky.
Just to be clear, there were no warning signs. Here's another one. This one's called, all right, this seems to be, okay, so he's getting a little political, I think. This might come from his personal life. He seems to have a number of songs written directly about personal experiences. This one is called Judge Kathy Toilet. Judge Kathy Toilet.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Kathy Toilet. I'm a little girly.
Holy fuck.
I'm a little girly. I hate God. I will change the worldy. I will change the worldy with my job.
All right, let's go back to Wonky Honky. That's the one I think that we should all...
He's a weird looking dude. His knees are knobby and his ears are skewed. His head is wobbly like he's missing screws. Does he like mayonnaise? No. Does he like Wonder Bread?
No.
Does he like mac and cheese?
No.
Bland potatoes? No. Why not?
I don't know.
He's a wonky honky.
All right, now the bridge. Come on, give me the bridge.
A wonky honky. A wonky honky. A wonky honky. A wonky honky.
No warning signs. All right. Here's a pretty little ditty. He's gonna slow things down now. He's gonna get romantic. This is a song that he wrote, again, seemingly directly about a personal experience. This song is titled "I Miss Lauren." How would you like to be Lauren? Jeez.
I miss Lauren, but she don't miss me.
Oh.
Time is fading. Well, can't you see?
Oh.
Every time.
Oh my God. You telling me the FBI doesn't want to talk to Lauren right about now? There you have him. That's the music of Justin Mon. He's obviously a severely broken bird. I mean, he had a job here. You know, let's go back to his rundown. There, a little bit more from his background. His book that he wrote, remember he wrote a bunch of books. His book, by the way, I know somebody who writes books too, and they're crazy. And then they call themselves an author. They're like, I'm an author and I've written 3 books. And like on their socials, it says, I'm an author. And it's like, you're not an author. You wrote a book. You had time to write a bunch of whole crazy things down on pages. And, you know, you filed it somewhere and, you know, but you ain't published. You ain't, I'm self-published. You, like I said, you ain't published. How many of you sold? You know, it's like, you're not an author. Unless you've sold like, what do you got to sell to be an author? You know what, folks? We should establish some rules here because there are too many people going around claiming to be models and too many people going around claiming to be authors. Hell, I claimed to be an author for about a year and I'm disgusted. I wasn't an author. I got a book that I wrote. It's not even finished. In models. I'm a model. No, you're not. What do you mean you're a model? Here, look at my pictures. Oh, you've posed for pictures. I'm a model. Ugh. His books include They Will Burn This Book, The Punishing, Poems I Wrote While Stoned, The Kingdom of the Dark, The Pink, Dark Age. Oh my God, he was prolific. He's like a crazy Stephen King. His Amazon bio reads, his life story is unbelievable, and there are many who will not believe. His Amazon bio reads, his life story is unbelievable, and there may not be enough words to describe him, but one may begin to understand his complexity and experiences through his art. Holy shit. You guys, he wrote that about himself. Oh my God. That is. Moran, a 2014 graduate of Penn State, has tried to blame others for his crippling debt through legal action. He's tried to sue the federal government 4 times for allowing him to borrow money to attend college. This is so crazy. So he hates Biden, by the way. He hates Biden. So he hates Biden, doesn't support the debt thing, I'm guessing, the student loan debt thing, even though that is the primary force of his life, is somehow relieving the burden of student debt that has crippled his advancement in life, or so he claims. But yet he still hates Biden. Because, I mean, see, I don't get what's going on here. Biden and you should be like, yeah, student loan debt, we should get to work on that. But no, you're cutting your dad's head off for being a pretend federal employee. Again, you're the only one saying he's a federal employee. He has tried to sue the federal government multiple times, claiming that they forced him to borrow money to attend college without informing him that he would struggle to find work afterwards. So that's what he's suing the government for. I took a loan, I went to college, and now I can't find a job, and you got to be blamed. Boy, is that a millennial? 32 years old. Is that a millennial? Holy cow. I mean, look, I'm not one of these millennial haters, but that is one of the things, an absolute instinctive reluctance to take any responsibility for anything that you may have been a part of. That is millennial to the core. Everything else is, can be blamed on something, some kind of experience because of this. Stop it. Take personal responsibility and acknowledge that this is a flaw in your system and work your ass off to be better. That's it. That's all we got to do. Just be better. Just do better. I hate to quote our former first lady, but be best. Come on. The most recent claim against the federal government was filed in 2023, which the judge threw out as having no legal standing. In 2019, Moran also sued Progressive Insurance after he failed to move ahead in the company, which he claimed was because he was a man. He works for George Soros. He works for Progressive? He works for Progressive. He's all over the road. And then he works for Progressive, and he sued Progressive because he didn't get to work a better job at Progressive? I don't know. There are a number of songs on Spotify which are produced and performed by Moran, including They Came for Justin Moran, I Miss Lauren, and Judge Kathy Toilet. We've listened to those, but again, for my money, I'm a fan of, where is it? I'm a fan of this one. I like Wonky Honky. This is my jam. Wonky Honky. If I could take just one Justin Mon song with me on a desert island, it would absolutely be Wonky Honky. Wonky Honky. Let's see here. What else did they say about this whack job? In one song, he complains about the debt he owed and stated that authorities wanted him to die. The lyric went, "This is a woman's world, empowering only girls, stepping on all men, kill the cock and praise the hen." All right, what an asshole. All right, let's look at another wacky picture of him. There's more wacky pictures of him from this story. Why not enjoy these? God. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at the family. Isn't this? Oh, wow. Let's look at this family picture, okay? Again, cute sister. He's got a really cute sister. Wow. Okay. Imagine how those 3 people must be feeling about him. Remember, him, the guy on the right with his arms crossed, cut their dad's head off last night on YouTube. So all of them have lost their dad. One of them did it by cutting his head off on YouTube for being a traitor to the United States. Look at the three of them. The three of them, they got their arms around each other. They're happy. They're smiling. And then you've got smug ass freak show Justin Mon, author of The Wonky Honky.
Wonky honky. Wonky honky.
Ugh, God. I feel terrible for Stephanie. She doesn't need to be going through this. There's mom. Look at mom. Mom's going through this. Mom is in the worst spot because mom, I bet, still loves Joe. Oh, she's mad at him. Don't get it twisted. We are capable. We are complex beings. We are capable of having both unconditional love and rage for someone at the same time. We are capable of that. That's what mom's going through. Mom has lost her husband and her son. Oh. By the way, fun fact, not so fun fact, mom found dad. Mom's the one that called police. What's this? Oh, it says, he said the traitorous Biden regime wanted to send America's military overseas to fight for Ukraine and die in a Russian winter. Moran ranted against tax evading big tech companies and those behind the U.S. prison system. Moran rallied against a network of evil he said was plaguing America. You know what? Everybody just sit down. Everybody just sit down and stop thinking you're going to fix America. Please, you just sit down. Sit down, or at least, I don't know, not be a construction worker from Akron. I don't know, like maybe have some experience with stuff. This guy, he's a Spotify songwriter, and he thinks he's the second coming. He thinks he's the Messiah. There he is there. Oh, look at him. Here's a little something for the ladies. A shirtless. What's that, one of his albums? Poems I wrote while stoned. Kind of want to read those now. It's marijuana did this. It's because he was on the marijuana. Oh, please. I think it's the marijuana is why he didn't do this years ago. That's what I would say. Probably chilled him out. This brain needs some weed. Okay, there you go. Truly shocking story. Disturbing story there out of Pennsylvania. I'm sure that we're going to hear all about this. I'm sure this is going to be one that they're going to cover. We're going to find every little details. Just, I mean, how are we supposed to process that? We see that family, a lovely family. How can you have any, just sight unseen, how can you have any ill will towards that family? They look like a very nice, all-American family. And then they're going through this. Like, well, happy 2024. All right, moving on. What else do we have here? Neuralink. Yesterday we talked about the Neuralink. Elon Musk went on Twitter and said, I put a chip in a dude's brain and now he can play Pong. Or, I don't know. You know the deals? I explained it yesterday. Do you remember? I don't even remember how I explained it. Anyway, guess what? 24 hours later, people are going, hold on, wait. So the whole world is talking about how Elon Musk implanted a chip in someone's brain and it was successful. And Elon Musk's Twitter account is the personal Twitter account, not even the Neuralink account. The Twitter account is the one that put it out there. So people are like, hey, this, they realize this might not have even happened. Neuralink, the company itself, hasn't said anything. They haven't responded. They've been asked by everybody, do you have a statement on this? And they're like, So nobody knows. Nobody knows if he's been able to successfully. Remember the story? I know what the story was now. The story was that this was the first time that they were going to try and put this chip in a human mind, human brain. They had done it before with a monkey. Remember, they had a monkey and then the monkey started playing Pong and exploded. I don't know. That may not have been the exact details, but it was worded strangely. He died. The monkey died while playing Pong. And I struggled to figure out if the playing of the Pong had anything to do with the death, or was that just the activity he was doing when he died because he had a chip implanted in his brain? You know what I mean? Like, I still want to know. Was he hooked up to Pong? Did Pong kill? How did he get crushed between the paddles? How did that even? I don't know. Anyway, Neuralink ... developing. We don't know if they did it or not. Oh, God, do I want to do this? Yeah, we'll do this because this is an important story and it breaks my heart. And it's another story that I think needs someone like me to talk about, because really, this story is probably only going to be discussed otherwise by the extreme right and the extreme left. So let me come at this from the middle. Are you following this story out of Montana about these parents who've had their child taken away from them because they've refused to give the child gender-affirming care? That's the way the story is being presented. It is a horrible story. As a parent of a 14-year-old, this kid is 14 years old. This kid is 14-year-old. As a parent of a 14-year-old, I know how 14-year-old minds work, right? My 14-year-old's very smart. My 14-year-old, I have to imagine, is a little bit different than most 14-year-olds. He's more talkative. He's more, confident. He walks into rooms of strangers. His whole thing is that he tries to make clerks laugh at 7-Elevens and stuff. So he's very confident. So I think maybe my son isn't typical of 14, but I know how his mind works. And I don't think that my 14-year-old son is ready right now to say, I think I want to have surgery to remove my penis. No, my son is not at 14. That's not a decision he's going to be able to make. Sorry. And as a parent, I will move to Ecuador if I have to, to get him out of a situation where he's going to be allowed to make that decision. Because there's a whole bunch of stuff that my 14-year-old thinks is gospel at 14 that he ain't going to think at 16 or even 18, certainly not at 50, okay? This is the job of parents, to get these children through the very complicated and difficult time of development, especially teen development. And in the modern world, it's more complicated than ever. So it is the parents' job to deliver these kids to 18 years old. And by the way, let's not kid ourselves about that either. Most parents don't stop at 18. That's just the legal line of demarcation that says that they're now adults. I mean, hell, we just did a story about a kid that cut his dad's head off. He was still living at home at 32. I had to move back home in my 40s. I mean, we all go through things, right? But at 14 years old, you're still under the entire care, I think, of your parents. So let me give you the story, and then we'll pull this apart, okay? And I'll tell you why, and especially in a situation like this, even the best of intentions can have truly tragic results, truly sad results, unintended. Because again, when you do things with the best of intentions, you do not expect or plan for there to be a terrible wake in the occurrence of, whatever it is you're doing. But that's what happens, because life is complicated and there are things that happen. Gender ideology has torn our family apart. Montana family who lost custody of their 14-year-old daughter after refusing to let her transition to a boy reveals their torment. Daughter to a boy. Daughter to a boy seems like boy to a girl. That's subtraction. That's like, if you're going to have the surgery and you're really going to live that way, that's okay. Girl to a boy. You could probably pull that off and then change, Anyway, a Montana mom and dad who lost custody of their daughter after they refused to transition her gender have told the Daily Mail, this is from the Daily Mail, although I saw it on CNN this morning too. And by the way, Governor Greg Gianforte is involved in this now. Gianforte, who is a very far right, one of these, hardcore right wing guys. Gianforte. No, wait, no. I'm sorry. That's not Gianforte. Wait, is Gianforte the guy who punched? Hold on. Wait a second. Before I go off on that, I need to make sure I know him. Is Gianforte the guy who punched the reporter when he was running, or is Gianforte Greg Gianforte? All right, there you go. All right, let me see this guy. Yeah. Is he the guy? I'm trying to figure out if he's the guy. Anyway, he's trying to play it both ways. He's definitely a conservative guy. So, we know what his public position is on the whole trans things. Let's go back to the 1950s and pretend it's not a thing. That's, I think, probably his thing. He may be a little bit more radical. I don't know. Again, that's why I quickly tried to go there. I didn't want to. So let's leave him out of it. But he's trying to have it both ways. He's saying the state came in and took these people's kids because the kid went to the hospital. Here's what happened. The kid, the little girl, told a classmate that she was thinking of committing suicide. The classmate then did the right thing and told the teacher. The teacher, having, a protocol in these instances, starts to pull the levers and check the boxes. Okay, it has now been reported to me that a child in my class has expressed a willingness to end their life. I now must let this person know. I have to fill out. So they did everything. One of the moving parts of that is that Child Protective Services are notified. And again, probably a good thing. Probably a good thing. I'm glad that my tax dollars have created an apparatus that is at least attempting to act as a safety net for vulnerable children. So that's good. A couple hours go by, the kid goes home, kid has dinner, everything's normal. It's like, Tuesday night, school night, dad's watching, Hannity or whatever it is that he's watching. Mom's doing dishes, maybe having a glass of wine. Kid's in her room, being an angsty 14-year-old teenage girl. Knock at the door, and it's Child Protective Services. They are there responding to her child's suicide attempt. Not just a kid being maybe even dramatic. Kids talk to other kids. I just wanted to kill myself. And then, whatever. So they show up. They talk to the kid. You know what? Let me give it to you. Let me read it to you. Because now we're getting into details that I think are important. So I want to read it the way it's being reported so that there's no... it says, Krista Kolstad, that's the mom, revealed the family's nightmare began when they received a call from their 14-year-old daughter, Jennifer. When they received a call that their 14-year-old daughter, Jennifer, told friends at school that she wanted to commit suicide. Later that night, Child Protective Services went to the Kolstad's home to inspect the house and interview Jennifer, later determining that she needed to transition to get better. So this is where it gets weird, and this is how it's reported. So people knocked on the door in the middle of the night. Well, middle of the night. Now look who's being dramatic. They knock on the door at 8:00 at night. We need to inspect this house. Your child is now on record at school is wanting to commit suicide. You, the parents, are now going to be investigated. We need to go be alone with your daughter and talk to her about what's going on. So the kid says all this stuff. Well, I just want to be a boy, and my mom and dad, they're religious and they won't let me be a boy. Yeah, because you're 14, okay? You can leave the whole because they're religious thing out. How about just because you're 14 and they're your parents? You can't tell me what to dress, how to wear, yes, they can. They're your parents. They buy the clothes. They most decidedly can. So on the spot, apparently, is that how this is being reported? Later that night, Child Protective Services went to the Kolstad's home in Glasgow, Montana, to inspect the house and interview Jennifer, later determining that Jennifer needed to transition to get better. So the CPS person there, hearing the story of why she was distraught, it's because she wants to transition at 14 and she's not being allowed to. The CPS person says, well, I'm going to be your hero. And they swoop her up and they take her to a hospital where she goes through all of these mental tests. The parents couldn't find her at the hospital. You know why? Because when the 14-year-old girl arrived at the hospital, she stated that she wanted to be called Leo, not Jennifer. So all of her court records and all of her paperwork and all of that stuff, the official documentation from that day is Leo, not her real name. How are they going to find her in the system? How are they going to? Well, Leo, I don't see a Leo. Come on. At that level, it's not her real name. It's not her real name. For the purposes of this emergency situation where we're trying to figure out what's what, let's not pretend like what she thinks is the way we're going to end up. We're investigating. Put her damn name on. Does she have a school ID? Does she have a birth certificate? Put the name on the hospital records that are on the birth certificate, and it will solve all the rest of the stuff later. But it seems to me that in this case, an individual, a CPS individual in Montana, made the determination that what was in the best interest of this 14-year-old girl was to be taken out of her parents' home and put into the care of the state, where she would then be indulged all of her whatever it is that she wants. She's 14. Again, this is not me saying that a grown, mature adult making a decision to transition and live their life a different way is somehow not important. It is. That's an adult. This is a 14-year-old kid. A 14-year-old kid, their best friend one week is their mortal enemy the next. This is a 14-year-old kid. And one individual from the CPS showed up in this class or in this home. And after taking one look around, decided that this kid was now being put in foster care. And this is not political. This is not about any of that. This is about being a parent. Can you imagine going through that where the state comes in? Now, we can learn a little bit more about this this kid. I'll refer to them as this kid. Long history of mental problems. The kid was abandoned as a baby by her mother. Her mother was like some kind of a crazy person or something, had serious depression issues. And now her biological mother lives in Canada, has zero contact with Jennifer, the little girl. She's being raised by her biological father and his new wife, his stepmom. That's who's raising her. She has had her entire life. She's had terrible, terrible abandonment issues that they believe, come from her mother. She has this longing to be accepted by her mother. And this has been through therapy and all this stuff. It's well documented. So suddenly, as the parents say, this is just a recent thing where now she wants to transition. This was never a thing a year ago, 2 years ago. There were never any signs. She was always a little girl. And now suddenly she's doing this and she's getting all kinds of attention for it. And that's what the parents are saying. They're saying, look, we love our daughter, but we know our daughter, she is lying. She lies all the time. She's been through a lot. We're trying to help her. We love her. That's what the parents are saying. And the state is going, nope, we've determined that at 14, she's right. She wants to be Leo now. So now she's Leo. So here's what happened. Because the state got involved, there was nothing the parents can do. The kid was moved from the hospital to a camp. Like a hospital, like some taxpayer-funded thing. Folks, this is in Montana. You don't think this stuff happens in Montana? This sounds like something in the suburbs of Boston that would go down. Or, Silicon Valley might have some weird laws. This is Montana. Krista, the mom, she's the stepmom, who is Jennifer's stepmother and the girl's biological father, Todd, said Jennifer had a tough upbringing and several diagnosed mental health concerns, including attention-seeking behavior and lying, which they believe caused the urge to transition and were overlooked by social services at the time. See, the social service person just went in there without knowing anything about the kid's history. The social service person just went in there and went, what's the problem? And she said, I want to be a boy and my parents are awful. And the social service person said, okay, you're now a ward of the state. You aren't her parents anymore. And they whisked her away. The mother told the Daily Mail, it's been horrible. Our family unit will never be the same. Even if they returned our daughter to us now, you're not going to have the same family unit. It's created a lot of animosity on Jennifer's part towards us. She doesn't believe she has to listen to us anymore because the state has stepped in. Mrs. Kolstad said, I love my daughter unconditionally, and I only want her to refrain from making decisions until she has the maturity and life experience to understand what the consequences for these decisions are. Man, that sounds like a normal mom. That doesn't sound like a mom who's like, I'm not going to love you if you transit. That doesn't sound like that. That sounds like a mom who's being reasonable. You're 14 years old. I was going to say something about my 14-year-old, but I'm not going to say it because it would embarrass him. But it was an example of how, I don't care how big you are or how old you think you are at 14, there are still things that you do that you share in common with your 5-year-old self. Okay, there are a couple of things that my 14-year-old, 6 foot tall, 200-pound behemoth of a high school football center, there are still some things that he does that I'm like, oh, did the baby need his blanket? There's still stuff. There's stuff that he hasn't. So come on. You're telling me this 14-year-old girl, it's just a sad story. It's a sad story when the state, in a snap judgment on an evening, a school night, breaks into the house. And I say break down because that's pretty much what it sounds like to me. They just show up unexpectedly. Hi, we're here and we're just going to investigate. But you should know there's a good chance that your daughter, you won't see her again for a very long time. We're going to take her out of this house, and we're the state doing it. Again, this is where we get back to even the best of intentions. I'm sure that when the people who created this kind of, the laws that allowed for this kind of situation, those people I don't think are monsters. I think those people are maybe, nice, very kind, very decent. They care about other people, and that's wonderful, and we need that influence. However, the way it was enacted, the way these people came into the house and just took the kid. It says that Jennifer is also repeatedly bullied at school. They even had to move districts to try and give their daughter a fresh start at a new school recently. She's always wanted to be super pretty, super popular. She always wanted to be the head cheerleader, and who doesn't, said her mom, Krista. But she's always been the crazy smart kid who was also in math club. When Child and Family Services arrived at the home, the family let the caseworker inspect their house and speak to their daughter alone, but warned her that she had a history of making up stories. Now, that's dangerous to say to a CPS worker, right? That's got to be a red flag. If you're a CPS worker and you walk into a house and the first thing the parent says is, oh, she's always making up stories. Don't believe a thing, right? Isn't that a red flag? So maybe not say that, even if it is true, because come on. 14-year-olds lie all the time. It's a great option for a 14-year-old. There are very little repercussions other than liars are bad people. Like, they're not in business. There's no they're not going to get arrested for, fraud or anything. Kids lie all the time. There are very few repercussions for the kind of lying that kids do. So that might be the case. When the Child and Family Services arrived at the home, they were told that she has a history of making up stories. During the interview, Jennifer, Jennifer Leo, whatever. No, I'm not going to do that because she doesn't get to just be called whatever she wants to be called. She's 14. Her parents gave her a name. During the interview, Jennifer claimed to have drank toilet bowl cleaner and taken an overdose of painkillers in an attempted suicide. Okay, so CPS shows up and they're like, okay, we're alone with you. Are you okay? And she's like, no, I drank toilet bowl cleaner and took a bunch of, just tried to kill myself. It's all going through my system right now. So CPS rushed her out of the house, took her to the hospital. That's how she ended up at the hospital. By the way, at the hospital, no toilet bowl cleaner, no pills in her system. She was lying. And now she's in a hospital. But still on the paperwork, it says attempted suicide or lying about suicide. So now we got a whole new level of thing. Now the state's involved. They've witnessed it with their own eyes. This is a suicide situation. She can't go home. This is sad, man. And I can see how this can happen. I can see. Her parents said this seemed highly unlikely, that she had committed suicide or attempted to ingest these pills, because Mr. Kolstad had been working at home all day and Jennifer did not have access to either substances. Despite their doubts, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad agreed to take Jennifer to the local hospital to be checked. Blood work confirmed Jennifer had not consumed any toxic substances. Let's see here. But medical notes mentioned that Jennifer identified as a male and wanted to be called Leo at the hospital. The mom says, our daughter began demanding that she be called Leo, he and him. We explained that this is in her history, but not something we would agree to as parents. The hospital staff ignored our request. So all her paperwork says Leo because the 14-year-old wanted to be called Leo. What if the 14-year-old wanted to be called Armpit? I just want to be called Armpit. Would they put that down, or does that not fit this social agenda where, well, if it's gender-based, we have to be as respectable as possible? No, it's silly. Her name is Jennifer, okay? You're going to have to look up her blood work, her history, her medical, all this stuff. You're going to need to search Jennifer. Good luck with Leo. This is absurd. Jennifer had her first expressed, it says here, our daughter began demanding that she be called Leo, he and him. We explained that this is in her history, blah, blah, blah. Jennifer had first expressed her desire to change gender to her parents at 13. So just a year ago. Her parents told her she was too young to make such a decision, because they're right, and sent her to counseling to explore why she felt that way. These parents, okay, now again, this is where this one gets dangerous. I almost went off. I was always like, her parents even sent her to therapy, but we don't know what this is. They might have sent her to some church group and calling it counseling, right? So, okay, so I'm going to take a step back on that one. We told her that she was too young to make this decision and that she needed to, she needed to wait a little bit, but we sent her to some counseling. But was it counseling at the local church where, it's like a dude playing with snakes going, the devil is a trans, is it like that kind of counseling? Or was it, hey man, let's get into what's going on? Because if you had done that, you probably would have very quickly realized that this has everything to do with her feelings of abandonment by her mother and trying to do anything to be noticed, hoping that on some level, and knowing that this is completely irrational, but hoping on some level that her mother will notice her, even from Canada. That's what this is all about, okay? Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad, who are Christian, which I have no idea what this has to do with anything, unless they are freaky fundamentalist over-the-top Christian. If they're just regular Christian, then just stop it. Then there's no reason. Why? Tell me what their nationality is, too. They're German Americans who go to a Christian church. Irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But they put it in there to trigger certain. Oh, see, that's what it is. It's because of their Christian. And all Christians are intolerant. No, they're not. A lot of them are. The loudest ones are. The most high-profile Christians are extraordinarily intolerant. But pound for pound, I know Christians. You know Christians. We're all Christians. I'm not. But you know what I mean? They're not. They're not that. They're normal. A lot of them. Not all of them. But they're not all one thing is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, she says here, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad, who are Christian, let the hospital staff know of their objections to her being called Leo and asked that Jennifer be called by her birth name. The hospital continued to call our daughter Leo, even though she's a minor, and after I stated that it was against our wishes. The hospital told me to call their lawyer if they have an issue with it. Oh, my God. While medical transitioning of minors is banned in Montana, Mrs. Kolstad said the hospital told her that social transition was a gray area of the law. So Jennifer, the little girl, was placed under 24-hour supervision due to her threats of suicide. But remember, they were hollow threats. She didn't actually do it. She, in fact, lied about it, which would lead you to suspect that maybe she's not really suicidal, but there is a deeper problem of her desperately needing attention. So, but, again, boxes were checked and dominoes were put in place. And there are things that have to be done after a child is deemed suicidal. So 24-hour watch, 24-hour supervision. Her mother, her stepmom, Mrs. Kolstad, said an aide was placed outside her door who would regularly speak to Jennifer about having top surgery and how she was non-binary. I don't know if that's true. If there was someone stationed outside the door who was feeding her with information, I mean, that sounds very conspiratorial. Certainly conspiratorial if that person's job is to speak to her about being non-binary. We need to brainwash the child for our army of 14-year-old. Come on. I mean, could it have just been this dude was stationed out there and she needed someone to talk to and he just talked to her and he just, you know what I mean? But the way it's worded is he spoke to her about, it's like it was set up that way. I don't think that's the case. While medical transitioning of minors is banned in Montana, there is a gray area for social transition. Jennifer was placed under 24-hour supervision due to her threats of suicide, but Mrs. Kolstad said an aide was placed outside her door who would regularly speak to Jennifer about having top surgery and how she was non-binary. Along with CPS, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad agreed that Jennifer would benefit from specialized inpatient treatment and counseling at a mental health hospital. Okay, so this is the next step. So the daughter Remember how all this started in class where she told a friend, she said, I tried to kill myself. And that friend told the teacher. So now, after the 24-hour supervision, because she's on suicide watch, now they got to figure out what to do with her. And all parties concerned have decided that the best course of action is her to complete her mental health check, whatever, at a hospital. So she's going to go, she's going to get looked at for all the mental health stuff. That's where we are now. Along with CPS, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad agreed that Jennifer would benefit from specialized inpatient treatment and counseling at a mental health hospital. There were 6 facilities in Montana, as well as 1 in Wyoming. Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad raised concerns about Wyoming, as the state allows minors to have gender-affirming care, such as hormone blockers and surgical procedures. Okay, so they didn't want her sent to the one in Wyoming. They wanted her sent to the ones in Montana. They were worried that this may happen without their consent if she was sent out of state. But just hours later, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad were informed there was a bed available in Wyoming at the Behavioral Institute and that Jennifer was going immediately. Oh, God. You can't put a stop to this. You can, as a parent, be like, yeah, no, that's not the one we want them to go to. It's a different state. We don't agree with those states' laws. Again, folks, you don't have to agree with these parents or what your perceived understanding of their political ideology is or whatever. You don't. That's not what this is about. Are you a parent? Could you imagine going through this? And if your response to that is, well, that's what they get for being stupid, you're an asshole. You're a heartless asshole. These are human beings, man. They're going through some shit. This is obviously a situation that could have been handled better. They were worried this may happen without their consent. But just hours later, Mr. and Mrs. Kolstad were informed that there was a bed available in Wyoming. They reiterated their concerns and said they had questions that needed answering before they agreed. 10 minutes later, CPS showed up at Kolstad's house with police and papers, removing their daughter from their care, accusing them of refusing treatment. So now she ain't their kid. Now she's in the care of the state. Because they said, we don't want her sent out of state for these. Well, she's got to go out of state for these. Well, we don't want that. So then a couple hours later, police show up and CPS show up and they take the kid out and they're like, it's not your kid anymore. While Jennifer was in Wyoming, she was given men's hygiene products such as body wash and deodorant. After a month in the Wyoming facility, Jennifer was moved to a youth dynamics group home in Montana, where she has remained ever since. Here, Jennifer has been allowed to wear a chest binder along with only men's clothes. She shaves her head and attends all boys groups. Is it all boys group? What does this mean? Is this? Oh, okay. So it would be like co-ed anyway, because it's a group home for a bunch of kids. Because I was thinking she attends all boy groups, but is it other transitioning girls into, like, is it that, or is it like really other boys? You know, because if they're playing football and stuff, she's gonna get knocked around. Is my point. She's a 14-year-old girl. The Kolstads were assigned a public defender who advised them to play nice and go along with the CPS's recommendations. We have followed their advice for the last few months, and now our rights are being completely stripped away, Mrs. Kolstad said. On January 19th, the couple lost custody of their daughter to CPS, who said that allowing Jennifer to be transgender is in her therapeutic interest and that her parents are not following recommended therapy as deemed by the state. This is Montana. Again, this sounds very California. This sounds very, right? Wow. So they don't have a kid and be watching this story because that story is absolutely heartbreaking. My God, when things get handled so poorly. On a brighter note, they might have found Amelia Earhart's plane. Although I promise you, they haven't. Have you seen this story? Amelia Earhart, she went missing in her plane like 1 billion years ago. And now some dude who just coincidentally just started a new business, and this is his first venture. This is his first. Dude bought like a $9 million underwater imaging system from some like Swiss tech company. And so he's got the $9 million invested in this, and he takes it out for the first time, and he finds Amelia Earhart's plane. No, he didn't. He's saying he did, or he's saying I might have. So this area off Hawaii, somewhere out there, he says, I found the outline of a plane, and it's probably a million. What do you mean probably? There's like a million planes out there. You think just the one you find is going to be Amelia Earhart's? But dude is getting all kinds of attention. I saw him on the news. He was on CNN last night. They were talking to him. It's like, yes, my company. And he kept talking about the $9 million thing that he bought. And just to kind of remind us that we could use investments. We are drowning here. It was just sheer luck that on our very first outing, we found and solved one of the world's great mysteries. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see. It's probably just a plane. A lot of planes. A lot of planes around Hawaii. I don't know if you remember a little thing called Pearl Harbor. There were planes out there. A lot of warplanes. Not only that, but the seafloor is just littered with planes. So just because you find one, it's not like that's Amelia Earhart's. No, you don't know that. We'll see. Let's wait. Elmo is trending. Everybody's trending because Elmo. Apparently, Elmo this is. I don't know. I guess it's sweet. It's fine. It's good. I'm fine with it. Don't get me wrong. So Elmo, he's a big controversial. You know Elmo from Sesame Street. Elmo, he's a big controversial dude on Twitter X. Excuse me. He apparently he tweeted yesterday, how's everybody doing out there? You know, in his Elmo voice. Elmo, does Elmo talk like this? How's everybody doing out there? Is that how Elmo talks? I don't remember. Or is that Grover? I don't know. So Elmo tweeted out, how's everybody doing out there? And then like a whole bunch of people just answered honestly. You know, they're just like, well, it's kind of tough. You know, I don't have, well, I've been mom. She passed away this time last year. You know, just really beautiful shit. Just really. And, well, here, I'll read you the story. He's just checking in on mental health, and people are just shocked at the responses. Not me. I think it's great, man. What's it say here? Sesame Street favorite Elmo's wellness check-in post on X asking, how's everybody doing? Has been met with thousands of responses. The responses to Elmo's post that was seen by an estimated 140 million times underscores a growing mental health crisis across the U.S. and a nationwide spike in anxiety and depression, with young people driving a rise in mental health spending in recent years. American spending on mental health, who cares about that? Samantha Moulton, the executive vice president, chief marketing and brand officer of Sesame Workshop, the nonprofit group behind Sesame Street, told the New York Times she doesn't think anyone anticipated how deeply this particular question would resonate with people. I will say this, because when I delved into this thread and just reading people just being honest about how they're feeling, it's actually kind of beautiful. And why is it beautiful? Because maybe you feel that way too, but maybe you wouldn't in a million years, you know, be like, yeah, you know, I don't know what it is. I feel a little bit fucked up, man. I don't know what. Talking about it with people who feel that way. I talked yesterday about how people who suffer from depression, when they run into each other at a social gathering, they're like junkies at a wedding. Like, it's always been my experience that, and by the way, this isn't my experience. I need to give credit where credit is due. This is an experience that was pointed out to me by Kelly, my former partner. Junkies at a wedding. That's her junkies at a wedding theory. It's also alcoholics at a wedding, but junkies. She went with junkies because I guess her personal experience was they were junkies at a wedding where she noticed this. But junkies at a wedding will always find each other. Doesn't matter if they've never met before. One can be a cousin of the bride and the other one's some friend of the groom from high school. They'll meet each other. They'll find each other at the wedding. And people who have depression are like that too. And we will just deeply, deeply commiserate. We'll sit there and we'll talk, dude, you hooking up with that girl? Huh? Dude, you've been talking to her for like an hour. Oh yeah, no, not about that. No, we're talking about other things. We're talking so that's good. That's not something that I don't know that people who suffered with, you know, depression and stuff like that could do 30 years ago. You know, those are the people who just went home and stuck their heads in an oven or hung themselves in the garage. And the wife was like, he was stressed from work. Okay. Yeah, but, you know, maybe if he could have. So the Elmo thing is shocking people because what we're finally realizing, and not finally realizing, but openly embracing is this idea that we can't talk about ourselves. We can talk about what we don't understand about what's going on up here, and there is no shame in it. And if you feel shame in it, that's too bad. That's a part of your mental incapabilities of being a well-rounded human. What? How are you feeling? I'm fine. Everything's fine, right? That's always been the macho thing. We're not fine. We're not all fine. So anyway, Elmo with a big hit tweet that nobody expected. Here's what I expected. I thought I would get on that thing and I was going to look at it and it was going to be stuff like, well, maybe if we didn't have a traitor in the White House. I didn't see any of that. And that's why people are shocked. People are like, this was actually a really nice thread. This was just people openly talking about not what's bothering them. This isn't grievances like you can find everywhere else. This was just people talking about their current state, their current mental state, what they're doing, how they're feeling, personal state. It was nice. It was nice. Anyway, that's why Elmo is trending, and that's why we like Elmo. Do we like Elmo? We like Elmo, right? We got no beef with Elmo. Who got beef with Elmo? What's Elmo's problem? Elmo got no problem. Hey, speaking of beef, at the end of the show, I want to tell you about something that I started watching on Netflix. And no, it's not Beef, the miniseries. It's not. I know it sounds like he's going to talk about beef. He finally watched Beef on Netflix. No, I haven't watched it yet. Something else, though, that I did see on Netflix that I want to talk about. It'll be fun. Look at us. We're going deep today. We're going deep today because I'll be appearing on James Parker's show today at 4:30, 93.3, the, I don't know what they call it. I don't know what it's called. BAP or something, 93.3, the Parker Show. It's the only reason to listen to that station. That's what I say. That's what I tell everybody. I'll be doing another entertainment report. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea what I'm going to do for the entertainment report. Hey, I just realized something that I'm kind of wrapping the show up like we're done. We ain't done. We got a whole bunch more. We got an update here on the Kansas City fan death. Actually, the update on the Kansas City fan death is that there is no update, but the person who lives across the street is now giving interviews. He doesn't know anything. He didn't see anything. The best he can offer is grainy cell phone footage of when the cops showed up 2 days after. I mean, that's it. But they're still investigating. And again, if you're unfamiliar with the Kansas City fan death, that's the bunch of dudes got together. That was James Parker. Hold on. I was just talking about what the good. Let's see here. You still good for 4:30? Yep. Yep. Oh, did I miss this? Oh man, look at this. Oh boy, he is balling out. Here, my son sent me that. Can you see what that says? Cat's Deli, the world famous Cat's Delicatessen. That's my son. My 14-year-old son is in Manhattan at the moment. He's in New York. And holy crap. You should see where he stayed. He stayed at the Essex Marriott. Ooh, very nice. I stayed there once. Very nice. Here's why I stayed there. I stayed there because it's the Saturday Night Live Hotel. Guests of Saturday Night Live stay at the Central Park Marriott Essex Hotel. That's, you used to see that commercial all the time. He stayed there. But he had lunch today. He just sent me that. He's having lunch today at Cat's Deli. See what he got. Did he give me his order? Did he tell me? He usually we like to exchange. We're a couple of big dudes. We enjoy food. We're gourmands, if you will. We like to exchange. He went with a corn. Okay, very good. Very solid. He went with a corned beef. Wait, where is it? Corned beef, pastrami, Reuben, and matzo ball soup. Good. You're going to Cat's Deli in Manhattan. Katz or Carnegie. Those are the two, right? Those are the two that you go to. If you want real New York City, Manhattan deli, you go to Katz or you go to Carnegie. He's having a good lunch today. All right. So the Kansas City fans, they got together to watch a game. One of the dude who hosted the watching party, he went to bed. His friends left. His friends never made it out of his yard. They were found dead 2 days later, strewn about his yard. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. We still don't know what the hell's going on. But now we've got a neighbor who lives across the street who's got grainy video of when the police showed up. I literally have the video and I could show it to you, but I'm too lazy to go through the motions, and there's really no reason. It's just police lights. It's just a police car. It's a police car, and it's him standing on his porch going, "What's going on over there, man? What's going on?" think it's domestic violence. And it's just police cars in front of a house with their lights going. That's all. That's it. That's the breaking news. Still waiting to find out toxicology or some kind of statement from the coroner's office. We don't know how they died. I am still going with fentanyl poisoning. I believe they all ingested some kind of a drug. I think that the host of the party passed out from the drug in the warm insides. And I think the other two passed out from the effects of the drugs outside and froze to death. Boom. There you go. Case closed. Crazy. Drugs are bad. Chiefs-Ravens game. The Chiefs-Ravens game, which was the AFC championship game on Sunday, was the most watched championship game of all time ever. 55. Wait. 50. What AFC championship game ever with 55.47 million viewers. All right. Very good. Very nice. What else do we have here? The Taylor Swift thing. Do you want to watch Colin Cowherd went off on all you Taylor Swift haters? He did it really well too. He made you all just. Colin Cowherd is not one of my favorites. I mean, I don't hate him, but I know what he does. I know his game. I'm watching him. I'm like, I see what you're doing here. But he did. Yeah, we'll show it. Why not? We'll watch a little bit of it because I feel the very same way. These alpha males who are like, I can't watch football anymore because they showed Taylor Swift. Let me give you some details here. This was something that, hold on. Is this going to be it? Is it going to work? Hold up. Let's watch this. Because we all know this is, look, I talk on this show a lot about programming. This is programming. When you are sitting watching the Super Bowl and they show Taylor Swift and somebody inevitably will go, I'm so tired of seeing her. He's not really tired of seeing her. I promise you, he's not really tired of seeing her. He has been programmed to say that. He believes he's so awkward socially. And yeah, this is a lot of us. A lot of us are awkward socially, myself included. So this is not like me saying he's lesser than. This is all of us and how we manifest this behavior in public. So he's going to be programmed and he's going to say something that he thinks everybody else is going to be accepting of. He's going to say something like, I can't stand seeing Taylor Swift on TV. And then somebody on the other side of the room will go, yeah, and Nickelback's the worst band of all time. And they're all going to go, we're programmed. Stop it. Stop being stupid. It's unwatchable. The game is unwatchable. She's on all the time. I think she's been shown an average of like 18 seconds in every game that she's been on. Does Coward break that down here? I'm not sure if he breaks down the amount of time that you're actually snowflaking over, because you are going to be embarrassed. And then like how much time is spent on like, showing the coach or showing a coach in a box. No, but that's football. Oh, is it? Is it? You're not watching. And I think, I don't know if it's Colin who says this. Somebody said this, and I committed it to memory because it's a wonderful way of looking at it. You're not watching football. You're watching an NFL telecast. Okay, it's very different. Football is being played within this NFL football telecast, but you've never in the history of NFL television had a problem with it. Now you do. Now you got a big problem every time they show Taylor Swift. You don't really have a problem. You're a rageaholic. You want something to get your juices going, and a pretty girl dating a football player just does it for you. You're nuts. This is a you thing, and it's about time we all start laughing at these people. Get over it, you snowflake. This is really what you're raging over? Holy fuck. Doesn't it say alpha male on your Facebook page? You fucking pussy. So let's watch what Colin Cowherd says. He probably says it far more eloquently than me. I'm just raging. Hold on.
Out there. The fact that there's a lot of really weird, lonely, insecure men out there. The fact that a pop star, the world's biggest pop star, is dating a star tight end who had one of his greatest games ever, and a network puts them on the air briefly, that it bothers you. What does that say about your life? Mm-hmm. Judge people sometimes on the silly stuff that bothers them. Mm-hmm. It'll tell you a lot about them. When I hear this whole thing about Taylor Swift, I just want to watch football. Liar. You're lying. That's not true. A football telecast is not just football. In fact, the commercials for 4 hours before the Super Bowl will be widely watched. Did you know statistically in a 3.5-hour NFL playoff broadcast or regular season broadcast, just 18 minutes are actual football. And we have the data, we have the numbers. You don't turn away. There's coaches cutaways. They show fans in Buffalo on fire, commercials, reviews, 18 minutes of real football. For the record, about the length of 5 Taylor Swift songs. Listen to this. The New York Times measured how long she was actually on the broadcast. Do you know how long it is on average? 25 seconds in 3.5 hours. Against the Ravens, it was up to a whopping 32 seconds. It was 14 Chiefs and Raiders on Christmas, 12 Chiefs and Bengals, 24 seconds, Buffalo, Kansas City. She was on for a minute against the Dolphins, but it was an absolutely awful broadcast. They should have had a concert in the middle of it. That would have been more interesting. And why wouldn't CBS, which you know has the Grammys, cross-promote the world's biggest pop star? Hey, listen, I worked at the other network. I work at Fox. I've seen us jam people on TV shows I would never watch during football games and sporting events. Don't forget to watch this right after the game. I've already forgot about it. Let's get back to the game. But I don't have to rush to social media. I'm okay with it. Here's the other thing that strikes me. Matthew McConaughey. All right. Love him. Drake on everything. Spike Lee, Knicks games, Eminem, Michigan sporting events. We celebrate it. 80s, 90s, Jack Nicholson Laker games is cool. Saw Jack. But a talented and beautiful woman is on the air, one who would never pay attention to lonely men, and it bothers them. There's a stat out there, it's kind of uncomfortable for you sad guys, that 50% of men never have real intimacy with a woman. That means the other 50% have multiple intimate relationships with women. And those ones that don't are angry and sad and lonely, and they are often misogynistic and resent women who didn't give them the time they think they deserve. We celebrate all these goofballs jumping on tables in Buffalo and cheese hats and men and Matthew McConaughey and Drake and Jack Nicholson, men and Eminem, and it's cool, and can I get a selfie, and I can't believe I saw. And a young, attractive, beautiful, talented woman comes on for 25 seconds. And you're bothered. Again, judge people by the silly things that bother them. This says nothing, this anger. This says nothing about Taylor Swift. It says everything about the men bothered by it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really weird...
I'm telling you, man. It's pretty good. It's exactly how I feel. It's weird. It's like weird that... It's not a cool thing. Like, it's not a cool thing to openly be like, I'm unfuckable. And isn't that this whole like incel thing, right? I'm totally unfuckable and I'm okay with it. And I'm going to turn it into my personal brand. It's such a weird thing. And there's a lot of that in this. I also think there's a lot of what I said, the programming, just awkward, insecure people who think they need to go along with, hating on her because that's what people are doing. It is weird though. It is so weird. It's come out of nowhere. It's like, what? Because Tony Romo was dating an endless number of pop stars and all that shit when he was the quarterback of the Cowboys. I don't remember people going, I'm not watching Cowboys if they show that Carrie Underwood again. I'm telling you, football is going to shit. No, because that would have been ridiculous. He made great mention, Jack Nicholson in Laker games. That was, show Jack more. Oh, look, it's Diane Cannon. Even Diane Cannon. She was popular at Laker games. This is just another example of how divided we are. And as with everything else in this world, a lot of this has to do with politics or the perceived political ideology or worldview of a Taylor Swift. The fear that she could mobilize an army of, freshly turned 18-year-old voters, most of them girls, who are just going to look adorable because they do everything like Taylor, and it's all about being adorable. Yeah, the whole Taylor Swift movement, that'll be embraced, right? I mean, isn't she like traditional feminine? Isn't that like kind of what they want all? That is the irony. If they got their Stepford wife ways, you know, their Handmaiden's Tale. They'd want them all to look like Taylor Swift. They'd want them all to be tall, beautiful blondes. That's weird. It's so weird. And here's the thing. Here's what, want to hear something funny that I kind of stumbled across today. So there was a list of like Taylor Swift songs that was out as I was reading one of these articles. It was talking about her biggest hits. And I started going down this list of her biggest hits. And I don't know any Taylor Swift songs. I know Shake It Off. That's it. That's what's your favorite Taylor Swift song? Shake It Off. It's the only one I know. It's the only one I've heard. So I'm not a little girl. I don't like that kind of music, whatever. She's an omnipresent global icon. So I am well familiar with her far more for her lifestyle and the things she believes and the projects she's involved in, far more than I am for her music. I don't know what the whole Taylor's version thing is. I mean, actually, I just learned all of that. She's an interesting woman. I mean, that is the most baller move in the history of music, what Taylor Swift did. Taylor, do you know about this? This is crazy. This is like really admirable. I love how she, the whole Taylor's version of stuff. That's like she's got all these albums and they're like Taylor's version. Okay, so this is how I understand it. So when Taylor Swift first came up and first had all these gigantic, massive hits, all of her music was owned and her publishing company was owned by the record label. Is that what this is? Kind of like a Prince? I'm a slave. Remember when Prince did that? I'm a slave to Warner Brothers. So in perpetuity, any of those songs that she had big hits with early in her career, the money would always go to the record company. So Taylor Swift, after that deal expired and she was an icon and she could call all her own shots, she went and paid for the right to do a cover of her own music. And then she put it out as Taylor's version. So now she gets all the money for that because it's a cover and she's already paid for the right to use it, even though it was hers originally. But those albums, the cover versions that she did of her earlier work have outsold her earlier work. She's absolutely brilliant. That's why she's a billionaire. She's brilliant. It's like nobody is buying the original Taylor Swift work because that money's all going to the record company. The fans, the Taylor Swift people, they go out and when they want to fill out their Taylor Swift catalog, they go out and they buy her, the Taylor version. It's really interesting. Since she's a smart girl. And again, she apparently came up with that idea. Like she is apparently the one who said, well, what if I just cover my own music? And the people were like her business guys and all that, they were like, I don't think is that done? Is that a thing? Well, because like if we pay X amount of dollars for me to license back my own music to do a cover and then we make 1 million times that, wouldn't it be worth it? They're like, it actually would. She's clever. Maybe that's another thing that men are afraid of. I don't know. But here's what I decided today when I was looking at all her music. I'm like, maybe I need to start listening to Taylor Swift music. I don't know anything about her. I have no idea. I like Shake It Off. That's a good song. Don't know the words. Only know Shake It Off. And again, this is why are you so in the tank for Taylor Swift? I'm not in the tank for Taylor Swift. I'm just not in the tank for. I'm just like not. She's like right there. It's like, what is she talented? Yeah, I think she's probably talented. She seems like she can do shit that I can't. She pretty? Yeah, she's real pretty. Are we being objective? She's freaking gorgeous. Yeah, okay. That's all I know. That's where I draw my line at Taylor Swift. She's supposed to be an interesting business person, but I don't know. I'm not a fan. Which is funny because my producer, does one of the most popular Taylor Swift podcasts in all the land. Lacey G, who is someone who's in my life every damn day. I say that like it's a negative. No, I love Lacey, but she's like a Taylor Swift freak, and I don't know anything about Taylor Swift. Other than I think it's hysterical that a bunch of so-called super tough alpha males are super threatened by her and just are made really angry. They're going to give up being a fan of the NFL because of Taylor Swift. Okay, that's normal. That's not a you thing at all. Hey, how about this one? Do I want to do this story? Yucko. I don't know if I want to do this story. You guys want to talk about a diaper spa catering to grown people who want to be treated like infants and wear diapers? It's in New Hampshire. Diaper spa in New Hampshire catering to adults with trauma. Jesus. All right, here we go. A new spa is raising some eyebrows in southern New Hampshire. The diaper spa website lists it as the only physician-owned diaper spa in the world. Physician. This is the only owned diapers. First of all, there's diaper spas are a thing. And you should just say, this is the only one who could find a doctor bad enough to want to be behind a doctor. Well, every medical school has a guy who finished last. And in this case, he's opening a diaper spa in the suburbs in New Hampshire. The diaper spa website lists it as the only physician-owned diaper spa in the world and says it is open to all diaper-wearing individuals who seek acceptance, respect, and care. So that first sentence here, it says it's open to all diaper-wearing individuals. So obviously, my first thought, because I'm not a moron, my first thought wasn't, oh, is this for toddlers? This is like toddlers go? No, I immediately think like adult diapers, people who have issues. And I'm like, okay, so what is this? Is this like a place for people who have adult diaper issues to hang out? Why would they all want to hang out together? Okay, I'm not saying I would invest in this business model, but that's where I'm thinking. And then they go into this whole weird thing. No, it's about acceptance of wearing diapers. I'm like, oh, okay. So these are people who are not forced to wear adult diapers. They're adults choosing to wear diapers. GTFO. I am out of this. I don't need to know any more about that. But I want to. So let's continue. The space is decorated to look like a baby's nursery. Okay, that's all I needed to know. We are out. And yet I want more. It's complete with small beds, toys, and folded diapers. This is like a thing we saw on the Donahue show, like back in the 80s, like a bunch of middle-aged grown men wearing diapers going goo goo gaga. It was weird then, it's weird now, and don't kid yourself, it's sexual. They go out of their way here to say that they're not sexual about this at all. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's all very sexual. I don't care what you're saying. This is some kind of weird, twisted corruption of our libido. I don't know what is happening here. It's a fetish. No, it's not. It's for people who have trauma, and the way they deal with their trauma is that they pretend that they're 6 months old. And you indulge this. For what reason? I don't know, but did we tell you about how this is the only doctor-owned diaper spa in the world? Okay. What's the doctor say about this? Colleen Ann Murphy, I guess, would this be Dr. Colleen? The owner of the spa said the spa and its services are non-sexual and do not cater to any fetish. This whole thing is a fetish, but instead are catered to individuals looking to regress and heal. It helps them process whatever trauma it was, Murphy said. A lot of times it's childhood trauma when they were in diapers or just getting out of diapers, and they want to feel that safety that they had before. Nope, we're done. These people in the community are weirded out by it. Here's the problem, though. Right? Like, I get it. Like, if I lived in the community, we'd be like, what are they putting in the strip mall there? What is that? There's got a convenience store. We got a dry cleaner. There's a nails salon. What are they putting in? What is it? Diaper? Oh, is it going to be is it like a diaper wash service? Oh, that's good, Margie. You should tell your sister. She's got a new place where she can get, wait, spa. What is a diaper? Yeah, if I lived in that neighborhood, I'm like, let's see who's going into the diaper spa. You can't do anything about it. You can't do anything about that. That's fine. You want to open a business? Hey, I'm an American first, okay? You want to open a business where grown-ass people show up in diapers and go, I'm a baby. You want to do that and you can make money off that? Well, God bless America. But I don't want it in my neighborhood. Like, I can understand why the people, and again, the people aren't, there's no real crime coming from it or anything like that. It's just weirdos. People don't want weirdos in their neighborhood. I don't want weirdos in my neighborhood. I am not saying that a grown-ass man who goes to a diaper spa to, pretend he's 6 months old is going to be a child molester. I'm not saying that. I have no reason to think that. But I would hedge that dude is closer to being a child molester than just any other random dude walking into the dry cleaner that's next door. So I don't want these people in my neighborhood. I just don't want weirdos in my neighborhood. And I know there's nothing I can do about it. None of us want weirdos in our neighborhood. Unless we live in a weirdo neighborhood. Like if we live in a cool, there was a time in when I lived, I was crashing in a weirdo neighborhood. It was great. Weirdos. That's why we're here. You live in Deep Ellum. Weirdo neighborhood. You want weirdo things. We moved to New Hampshire for that, though. All right, let's see. That's the diaper spa in New Hampshire making some news. That's it. We got nothing else. Barney says just a sign with a big red donut. Donuts and nails. The only thing traumatic is all the people wearing diapers. That's right, Pete. Pete knows. Yeah, Byron, that is funny. Just the yellow sign, right? It's a yellow sign, and it just says donuts. That's it. That's a Texas thing, though. Just so you know. Well, I shouldn't say it's a Texas thing. I should say it's unique to Texas in my experience of living in Chicago and Texas. Like Chicago, we don't have that. Like we don't have strip mall donut shops that just say donut. We got bakery. There's like neighborhoods. Maybe some still have bakeries, although I don't think that's a thing anymore. But we've got in Chicago, it's all Dunkin' Donuts. They're everywhere. Dunkin' Donuts are everywhere. Dunkin' Donuts. And when I was a kid, we used to have a thing called Winchell's. So it was like Dunkin' Donuts Winchell's, Dunkin' Donuts Winchell's, but it was never just like the mom and pop donut shop, which is awesome. Because mom and pop donut shops, they make better donuts. The donuts are, well, if you like hearty donuts, I like hearty donuts. I'm a cake donut guy. But it is funny how here in Texas, all the strip malls have that one store with the yellow letters that say donuts. That's all it is. Donuts. And then, of course, nails. There's donuts and nails. Now, in Chicago, we do have a version of that. The strip malls all have a place on the edge, the last store usually anchoring the strip mall, especially in the sketchier neighborhood, that just says checks cashed. That's it. We also have things on the south side of Chicago that just say liquor. That's just liquor. It's just booze. So, yeah, a little different than nails and donuts, but we get the point, right? We know what it is. Let's see. Do we have anything else? That's it, folks. We got nothing else. All right. I'm going to have lunch. And then I've got to run. I've got to be back here by at least 4 for the earliest. And then, hey, jump on over and check out James Parker on WBAP 93.3. I'm doing these weekly guest hits. I'm his entertainment. I'm his entertainment reporter. He's a little yuck monkey. For as long as it lasts. I don't know. Just saying I may not be able to do that. We'll see. Things are changing. Tip the show if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. When I say that I don't know how much longer we'll be doing the show in this way, that is the truth. But help us out if you can. Tip us. We are nowhere near being where we need to be. Okay. I'll be back tomorrow. At noon. Oh, by the way, I've got an idea. Oh, God, guys. I wish there's something I want to tell you about. I can't tell you about it. I wish I could because we're going to need to use you. This show is probably not going away. Okay. Don't worry about that. What the good news is that after this month, I'll be able to stop asking you for, the tips. We'll be able to go back to doing it. Hopefully. Big things are coming. Anyway, very excited. Don't want to say any more. Join me on 93.3 this afternoon at 4:30 with James Parker. That's it. That's been a 2.5 hour stream of consciousness. I went 2.5 hours today. 2.5 hours today of me just talking nonstop, and now I am out of words.